Well, good morning, all you good-looking people. Happy hump day, y'all. Welcome in. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy. How y'all doing? Great to be with you one more time again. I am Rob Brown, directly across from me, rocking the official colors of the Marion Franklin Red Devils today. He is the handsome devil himself, the great one. Lonzo's on the board as we prep for 3 hours of sports talk entertainment greatness, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, Lonzo?
You said howdy. I don't think you can say howdy without a Southern accent because it just doesn't sound right.
I have a Southern accent.
You're starting to develop one.
Howdy, y'all.
You are starting to develop one.
Welcome into the show, y'all.
You haven't reached Mark Ryan levels of Southern accent yet, but you're getting there because you haven't been here as long as he has.
I've broadcasted.
You know, I feel like I don't have one, but I know I do since a listener pointed that out, last week.
You live on a compound. I feel like that just comes part and parcel.
Yeah, but I mean, part of whenever the country comes out of me, I still like to believe that it has to do with my family and not where I live. But because there's like one guy in this building with a Southern accent. Think about it. So you spend more time around people with accents than I do because, as you said, I'm on the compound. So, I mean, so I only hang around radio people for the most part, who, if they had an accent, they try to hide it unless they're in country music where it's perfectly okay.
In country music. I used to work for a guy who did I've told about the SEC football only show. And he used to drive me nuts because he'd get on the air and he'd be like, good old boy, the Gulf of Mexico. We're talking some college football. And then he'd get off the air and just speak like this.
By the way, I'm not slamming a Southern accent. If you're from here and that's how you talk, that's how you talk. But I think when you spend, you can't help it from osmosis. If you spend a lot of time around someone who talks a certain way, you start to lean that direction a little.
Sorry, I have to train wreck this for the text that just came in. We are starting off with an A+ effort. On the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307, start your text with FAN, F-A-N, we'll read them on the air. Texter says, what a week to be a sports fan. First, DK Metcalf clinches, and now the Braves do too. Let's go. Excellent effort, Texter.
Well done. I hope it was original.
Excellent effort. I do as well. Because
I'm busy reading all these, the only two people to take a ring away from Brady stuff.
Today's going to get weird for just a minute.
Wow. That's unusual here.
I know. Usually we are a cut and dry, formal,
Speaking
very
of
standard.
formal, you're wearing that high and tight V-neck. I didn't know that V-necks could go up that high. Is it really a V-neck if it doesn't come down to like mid-pec?
First off, I left pecs behind about 10 years ago. If I rocked a shallow V, I believe it's just cleavage at this point.
Okay. All right.
It's been a while since Rob Brown hit the deck and did some push-ups. All right, is all I'm saying.
This is really up there, man.
I mean, I can.
You don't need to pull.
Don't
pull it down. I mean, I thought it was cool up like that. That's probably how it should be up there.
Yes, it should. Yes, it should. Today's gonna get weird on the show because Lonzo walked into the building today and into the fortress of nerditude, and he asked me after the questions dropped or after the reports dropped yesterday that Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen have both acquired divorce lawyers, allegedly. Lonzo walked in and asked me what question? What did you ask me when you walked in about Brady, Zoe?
I don't remember. It was so long.
He asked
ago.
me which one of them cheated.
Oh, so I thought we weren't going to go there.
Oh no, hell yeah, we're going there.
I thought we weren't going to. I say okay.
Now listen, this is not.
What show is this? I thought off-air conversations were okay. All right.
This is not a show that does a lot of gossip. This is
Except
not a show.
on Tuesdays, but we help you. We got a couch and everything.
Right. Not a show that does a lot of gossip. Not a show that is ripping much prep out of USA Today or People Magazine. But Zoe walked in and said, who cheated, Giselle or Tom? And then went one step further and said he would not be surprised if part of this is based on an addiction issue that is bubbling to the surface surrounding Thomas Christopher Brady.
All right, so in my defense, not that I need to defend myself, but everyone's talking about this. It's all over social media. As I said, every other meme or post on Twitter or Facebook seems to be about this, and you can't help but speculate. You know, in the world where live action things go on, where let's watch Survivor, let's watch Real Housewives, let's watch all this kind of stuff. This is the mentality we have because pop culture has decided that we should.
Well, I would even say I can circle this around to sports. And I can say I can circle this around to sports because the Buccaneers are 2-2. The Buccaneers right now do not look good at all, right? And granted, they have had a lot of injury issues lately. Their offensive line is incredibly hodgepodge right now, right? And we can all look, and it's very, very clear to all of us that Tom Brady ain't himself right now. Right? Like, I don't think I'm breaking any news to anybody who's watched a Buccaneers game to say that it does not appear that Thomas Christopher Brady is anywhere close to being the TB12 that we all expect him to be. Right? I don't think that that's a shock to anybody at this point.
I don't want people to believe that I'm relishing in the pain of someone else. Even though I don't like Tom Brady, I don't like to see families break up at all. But I will say, when it comes to cheating, he knows how to do that. He got suspended for, something like that, So, he comes from a place where they cheated a lot. It just, your first thought or mine, whether it's a good thought or not,
it's not.
Why is it not a good thought? This guy cheats at everything he does. Why would you not think that this has something to do with it?
So I will say this. In all the conversations we've had about this off the air, of which there have been a few, I will tell you.
Not as many as people would think.
No, but a few. I will pull back the curtain here. And despite the fact that Lonzo and I have an unspoken code of what is talked about in the office stays in the fortress of nerditude up until the point that one of us goes, can we talk about this on air, and gets permission from the other. Because nobody wants their... I am me on the air. I don't have a problem. Like, pretty much anything I say off the air, I'm happy to bring up on the air until it gets into politics, right?
Yeah, we're not going to bring up My Little Pony, furries, or Furbies.
Right.
We're not going to. That stays in the office.
No, we have brought up furries many times. Furries, listen to me. Be you, but just be a version of you that doesn't do that. But that's another discussion.
Whatever that is.
Whatever that is. So Lonzo has expressed multiple times that he doesn't like Tom Brady, but he doesn't wish ill will on Tom Brady and his family, right? He's like, yeah, I want to see him go 0-17 on the field, but I don't want to see anybody hurt, like emotionally or physically, right? And so this whole conversation is very interesting because I do absolutely think that you can circle it back around to, is this impacting Tom Brady as a football player? A Buccaneers team that is 2-2. Granted, the two teams that they have lost to thus far were two of the odds-on Super Bowl favorites. Aaron Rodgers in the Pack, Patrick Mahomes in the Chefs, right? It's not that big of a shock that the Bucs are 2-2. What is a shock is that they got beat by the Chiefs and they couldn't win a 14-12 absolute boat show of a game with Green Bay with the GOAT under center.
All
right.
I
think it's fair to ask, did Tom Brady make a mistake coming back for the last year? Should he not have ridden off into the sunset either 2 years ago off the Super Bowl or last year after deep run into the playoffs? Because right now, the Bucs do not look like a Super Bowl favorite in the NFC. And does this situation have to do with the reason Tom Brady's struggling?
All right, so there's a couple things. First of all, the beatdown that happened from Kansas City, that was revenge on Kansas City's part. I don't think you can put too much into that. That's not entirely Tom Brady's fault. I mean, they were mentioning it on the broadcast, and I was thinking the same thing. If Kansas City would have had a full team a couple of years ago, this is what Kansas City would have done to Tampa Bay, and they wanted to let Tampa Bay know that if Mahomes' toe wasn't hurt and they didn't lose both tackles before the game, this is what would have happened in the Super Bowl. Now, the closer games, and something else to keep in mind, and no one's bringing this up, and we all have been in situations where things are going a different way at home or just away from work, and it affects your performance.
Heck yeah.
Especially for us on radio, because you got to come in and try to be entertaining and try to pretend like things are not horrible when sometimes they are. But no one's bringing up the fact that Tom Brady doesn't have the coach there that took them to the Super Bowl.
Bruce Arians, the QB whisperer.
Yeah. Bruce Arians is gone. So maybe some of this has
replaced, by the way, by a defensive coordinator.
Right. So maybe some of this has nothing to do with what's going on at home, and some of this has to do with the fact that they have a different coach. A coach who wasn't successful the first time that he was a head coach.
You are not wrong. I think that absolutely has something to do with it. But at the same time, I go back and I look, and I think it's fair at this point to say, and if you disagree, the phone lines are open at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. I think it's probably very fair to talk about Bill Belichick and go, hey, man, maybe Hoodie really isn't that good of a coach, right? Like maybe because Hoodie was such a weird character and Tom Brady was Tom Brady, maybe Hoodie got toted to a fist and a half full of Super Bowl rings, because since Brady's left, the Patriots have been remarkably middle of the pack, right? Now, granted, they got a true rook quarterback in Mac going into year 2 that was asked to take over for the GOAT in year 1, right? That's not great. But I think the argument, I think the discussion about was it Brady or was it Hoodie is pretty much over at this point. It was Brady, right?
See, I will disagree. I think it was a combination.
And that's fair.
And I think we might be seeing that again, because without Bruce Arians there, we see that he's struggling. And this is his first year without Bruce Arians.
Yeah, but let's also keep in mind, Tom Brady is old. Every athlete that tries to do this hits a wall. So the conversation can also include, is this Brady having his age finally catch up with him, or is this Brady needs a great schemer to make himself great? And I don't want to go down that particular road yet. The question mark came in regarding, is Tom Brady a guy historically known for not letting anything off the field impact him? Is he being impacted by his off-the-field drama, his off-the-field relationship with his wife? And I think it's a fair question, because you were talking about a guy who has been married for 13 years. Now, there have been some people who have been married a very long time who are like, 13 years is nothing. But 13 years is a long damn time to do anything. I've been broadcasting for 15 years, and I feel like I've been in this business my entire life, right? Lonzo's been broadcasting twice as long as Tom Brady's been married, roughly, right?
Well, it's been 25. 25
close.
years.
Yeah, roughly.
Working on 26. I also have been married nearly 30 years.
Right.
So be 30 years in like 2 months.
But 13 years is still a really long time.
It is, for sure.
A really long time. And even if Tom Brady entered into that marriage without, God, I hate myself for saying this, true love, after 13 years, you're going to find yourself in a comfort zone that revolves around having that person and having that relationship in your life. And now it's not there anymore, right? It's not there. So to say it's obviously impacting Brady is no shock. And
yeah, but we don't know that for sure.
We absolutely don't.
We don't.
Listen, we don't know 96% of the stuff we talk about on the show. We speculate. Our job is literally to speculate. And then once we get further information, to enhance our speculation based on information. What I do know is that if somebody has somebody there for 13 years, especially going from their, what that would put him at 20, 29, 30 when they got married, 31, something like that, to transition from your 30s.
I'm enjoying your Steiner math.
Yeah, right.
You're trying really hard.
Got a 33 and a third percent chance. By the way, Braun's promo last week with that in, it was spectacular. 13 years, 2009 he got married. So 13-ish years this dude's been married.
So that would be, he's 45 now, that would be 32.
So 32.
Yes.
I have a belief in life that you have a few major transitions to your final form, if you will, right? You have a transition around 18 years old that brings you out of adolescence and begins to transition you into adulthood. You have a transition when you get to 25. Because at 25 is, I genuinely think, when you really start to develop the habits and the patterns that you will carry into your adulthood. I think you have another transition around 33, 34 that makes you an adult. Like this is who you are now. And then I think you have a final transition around 40 when you're like, oh, hell, I'm like a real adult grown up now, right? Now, I don't think it's always been this way. I think this is for the newer generation. I think the older generation, like Lonzo, I think you guys were forced to be adults when you were 12 and you had to go out and plow the field for your parents, right? For us, for this newer generation, manual labor is not necessary for the most part anymore. And so we, this generation, I'm not saying it's good or bad, it's just different, transition into our kind of final form, I think, around 40. So for Tom Brady to have gone through, theoretically speaking, especially in a sheltered environment like being the world's most famous athlete, arguably, certainly in the group of three, to have gone through multiple genuine life transitions with Giselle there, to then not have her, and not just not have her, but them actively attacking each other, I can see that would have a real, true negative impact on the field. And at the end of the day, Giselle did not become a billionaire just because she's hot. Certainly it's based on that. But even as a model, you've got to have a pretty aggressive mindset to get where she is. And of course, to be a great one like Tom, like Kobe, like Mike, you kind of got to be a bit of a sociopath as well and not care about other people's feelings. That being said, they've been together 13 years, splitting up and hiring divorce attorneys behind each other's back, or hell, right in front of each other. To say it's not going to have an impact on Brady's mentality on the field is, I think it loses the thread a little bit.
I agree. A couple of things here. First of all, I can't wait to see your final form when you're 40. Hopefully we're still together. I'm wondering if it'll be golden.
It's only 3 years from now, buddy.
That was a nerd reference that not that many people will get. anyway, so and the other thing is, Brady historically, after getting beat, usually comes back and has a really good game. We're going to find out where he is and where the team is because they play the Falcons this week.
Yeah.
The surprising Falcons. Actually, the Falcons and the Buccaneers are fighting for first place.
Winner of this is first place in the NFC South.
In this game.
That's right.
If he struggles against Atlanta, is Rob going to have to come in and say Atlanta's for real? Or is he going to say this is a true the showing of what's wrong with Tom Brady?
That one.
Okay.
That one.
All right.
Texas says the fan, it's not Brady or the coach. There's no Gronk. There's no Godwin. There's no AB. Remember, they had the suspension of Evans as well that they had to deal with. That is true. Brady's pretty much got Fournette at this point. That's a fair point.
Yeah, he won with less in New England, though.
I also think that's a fair point.
But there he had a better coach, probably.
All right, let's take a break. We got a very short segment up next because when we come back for the 9:35 segment, we are going to be joined by John Harkes, head coach of the Greenville Triumph. The Triumph have their final regular season home match this Saturday evening, and Harksey represented the U.S. men's national team at the World Cup level number of years, and now coaches our hometown soccer club, is going to join us to talk a little bit about that match against Charlotte on Saturday, and then we'll break down next week's Richmond game. The Triumph coming off of a 2-2 draw this past Saturday. Will they be able to finish this time around? We'll ask John Harkes coming up in a few minutes on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. The Fan Upstate. The Fan Upstate. The Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Fan Upstate. Yeah, that's
the one.
Yeah.
The Fan Upstate.
Real sports talk, real sports fans.
The Fan Upstate
Is the sports voice of you, the Upstate fan. Call 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. The Fan Upstate.
The number one most haunted attraction.
Lots of sunshine Thursday and Friday with lower 80s for highs, and sunny for your weekend. We're back to highs in the low to mid 70s. I'm meteorologist Michael Carroll on the Fan Upstate. Right now, it's 57.
Are you ready to tackle your banking needs? Home Trust Bank's team of expert advisors and lenders want to be your teammate. We want to hear your story, learn your aspirations, and assist you with financial needs, and provide options that are
By the way, I
tailored
don't
to
think
you.
for a
With
second,
a wide range
you
of
know,
personal, mortgage, and commercial
Rob
services,
doesn't know
you
that
will
this is the
discover
Fan
all your
Upstate
banking
because he
needs
said it like 4
under
times.
one roof with a local and personalized touch at Home Trust Bank. Score big with Home Trust Bank. Ready for what's next. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
So many people here are getting real lasting joint pain relief from QC Kinetics.
I do not know why I
Kinetics
said the
has
fan
changed my
upset.
life.
To be honest with you,
QC to anybody.
You did.
I guess I
You said
feel
you,
so bad
you
for
said
Alex.
you said upstate.
Upstate.
Yeah, you just didn't use the T.
Excellent.
I think because you were watching.
Professional, ladies and
Regenerative
gentlemen.
medicine.
He was watching Pretty Deadly before we came on here, and he's got that stuck in his head.
Repair damaged tissue in your
I
aching
don't know if you
joints
did. I
with no
appreciated
meds,
their
no
Hamilton
steroids, no
reference.
drugs, and no downtime.
Yeah, I've never watched Hamilton.
Oh, you should. It's phenomenal.
Just not into musicals anymore.
Therapy. You're using
You're a
you
musician.
to fix you.
I got my life back. I got my smile back.
I said anymore. I watched musicals when I was a kid because my mom liked them. But now I'm not going, hey, I want to watch this musical. It's just not me.
Local medical
Love a
professionals at QC
well-put-together
Kinetics.
musical.
Call now for your free
Hamilton is
consultation.
fantastic.
Call QC Kinetics.
I'd rather go back to Greece.
3772. That's 864-448-3772.
Go Grease Lightning, you're burning up the quarter of my- I thought you said you liked musicals.
3772.
If
Grease
you own a
lightning,
business,
go
this has been a
grease
bumpy
lightning.
ride.
Well done.
From pandemic to inflation, I'm sure you could use a break. If your business has 5 or more employees and survived COVID,
By the
you
way,
might be eligible
if you want
receive
to
a payroll tax
bother
refund
Chris
of up to
Evans,
$26,000
start singing
per
Summer
employee.
Lovin'.
The challenge
hate
is
that
getting
song?
your hands on
Really?
it. Hi, I'm Howard Mackler,
Thank you
and
for
that's
that
why I
information.
founded
That will be put to
GetRefunds.com
use.
to cut through the red tape and get you the money. The team of tax attorneys we have put together are highly trained in this little-known payroll tax refund
I mean,
program.
you've
We do all the
you've seen
work,
him.
charging out
I will
the
use a
refund,
word
so
that they
we
use
share a
now.
percentage of the cash
Triggered.
that we get from you.
Triggered.
This
Businesses of all types
this
can
triggers
qualify,
him.
including those that took
Grease
PPP,
lightning.
nonprofits, and even those that increases in sales. We have helped return over $1 billion to businesses, and we can help you too.
It's kind of
Just
a
go to
nasty song if you really
getrefunds.com/sports
read the
and
words
it
to
is.
the
qualify me and
yeah.
answer a few questions. This payroll tax refund is only
I am-
available
I'm
for a limited
stunned
period
that
of
any
time.
of our parents
Don't
let
lose
us
out on up
watch
to
Grease.
$26,000 per employee. Go to
no reason we
getrefunds.com/sports.
should have.
That's getrefunds.com/sports.
Sponsored by Taco Bell. Taco Bell is sorry for going too far with its past breakfast. All you need in the morning is tasty, simple food, like a breakfast crunch wrap. Fluffy eggs, cheese, sausage, hash browns wrapped in a warm tortilla. Grab one at participating Taco Bell stores
should
during
push the
breakfast hours
podcast.
only until
I should
11
push the
a.m. while
podcast.
supplies last.
More than the scores. Real sports talk for real sports fans.
The Rob Brown Show. Now 9 to noon. The Fan. Upstate.
How did our parents let us watch Grease? Like, why? My mom should not have allowed me to watch the movie Grease until I was like 24.
James says Greece will send me into a shoot heel promo.
I did not know. I mean, I think we all watched it, and I think that Grease has been beloved as it's been for so many years just because of how many of us were exposed to the movie Grease young. But in reality,
It started out on Broadway, didn't it? I believe
don't-
it.
I don't know.
I believe it did. It was.
did it start Broadway and go movie?
Yes, I believe so.
Because I've obviously seen the movie like 30 times, but I actually did see Grease on Broadway when I was young. And in retrospect, there's not a good lesson from the movie Grease to be learned, right? There's just not. There's not a positive here. Like, the whole end of the movie is both of the main characters completely changing themselves and their personalities for each other. Like, it's just not a good movie. It's a great movie, but it's not a good movie.
I mean, it's a good movie, but morally, not so much.
Ambiguous at best. For those of you that are like, why the hell are we talking about this? You should join us on the Facebook stream every day at facebook.com/thefanupstate, or on Twitter at @thefanupstate, or on Twitter at The Rob Brown Show, or on Twitter at Lonzo on Word, or on YouTube by searching and subscribing to The Rob Brown Show, or on Twitch by searching and subscribing to The Rob Brown Show.
See, I've given up because now that we have 8,
We got 8 places you can
by
find
the
the stream.
time you do all those, it's like, man, I'm really late for break for doing that.
The off-the-air conversations on the stream can get wild sometimes. And then every now and then they bleed over onto the air. So make sure you check out and watch the stream with us because it's goofy.
You know what else you should do? You should download views from Mint Street.
Yes, you should. Newest episode is coming out.
No, it's
already out. That's right. I got the notification last night.
dropped at midnight.
Yes, it did. Newest notification.
I know. I
newest
did. I
episode
didn't
is out.
stay up till midnight to make sure that it. No, I didn't do that.
Newest episode has dropped, in which we take a midweek look at the Panthers. The next episode will drop on Friday, in which we will break down the X's and the O's of this Sunday's matchup against the San Francisco 49ers. So if you are a Carolina Panthers fan, grab the Views from Mint Street podcast, subscribe to it where podcasts are found, on Stitcher, on Spotify, on Google Play, on iTunes, and make sure you download every episode of the pod hosted by Lonzo Reitzel, and I'm there too. Check it out. Dig it, sucker.
No. Reitzel.
Lorenzo Reitzel. All right, we got to run the break early here, and we do so because John Harkes, head coach of the Greenville Triumph, is going to be joining us next on the show. The Triumph have their final regular season home match coming up this Saturday. It is Fan Appreciation Night. We would love to have Legacy Early sold out for this event. They've also got one more regular season match next Saturday that will determine our playoff seeding. We are not locked in yet. There is work to be done, and we'll talk to Harksey about it when we come back on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
The Fan.
Upstate.
The sports voice of you, the Upstate Fan. Welcome to The Fan.
The Fan. Upstate.
Now CBS Sports Radio.
I'm Chuck Sanders with your Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate. Furman football set for this Saturday's matchup on the road at Citadel. The kickoff set for 2 o'clock. Furman looking to bounce back after falling 34-27 at home against Samford a week ago. Meanwhile, the Citadel shut out last week. The Bulldogs blanked 49-0 on the road at App State. We'll have all the action live right here on the Fan Upstate this Saturday afternoon. Carolina Panthers
I think we are on Twitch. Let me see. Yeah. Did you pick the Twitch? I'm looking at all the things. I don't see the. Yeah, there it is. There's a Twitch right there. James said, "Why aren't we are?"
Ladies and gentlemen, in appearance from my man Gio,
win over the Marlins
I
on
want you,
Tuesday.
Gio,
Aaron
to
Judge
know
set his American League record-setting 62nd
home
run in a Yankees 3-2 loss at Texas.
And I want you to know the stickers on the phone
Panthers
case.
game live on Classic Rock
Gio
1.1. Download the Odyssey
is one of the
app
most
and search the
optimistic,
Fan
positive
Upstate.
people
Then
I've ever
listen
met in my
anywhere on
life,
your
and I
phone. I'm
put
Chuck
you on the
Sanders,
phone
and that's your
case,
Sports Flash
Gio,
on the Fan Upstate.
so that when I'm having a moment, of self-doubt, I just flip the phone over, and there's Gio. Look at that. You don't even need the face to see that as a face of encouragement and optimism and positivity. Daggum right, Gio. You're a celebrity in town, my man.
Thanks, Steven.
You are.
My bad. Are you Are we doing? You said he's.
Yeah, but he's finishing up a film session, so he might jump in a couple of minutes late. We're probably going to get him for like 10 minutes.
Okay. All right, today we've worked in Real Housewives, Dragon Ball Z, Grease. What other pop culture reference can we get in there that's, been in the last 50 years?
I suspect it's not going to be that difficult for us to do.
It's like Easter eggs, though. You got to pay attention. Be like, did he just say that? Let me go back and listen and see if he did.
Lonzo's eyes lit up when I got a Final Form reference in there. This isn't even my Final Form.
Also, the whole time you were saying that, I was like, okay, so I hit my Final Form at 40. Wow.
Would you say that you have honestly changed that much from the age of 40 till today?
I would say I haven't changed that much since 15. But,
really?
But that's me.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's different.
I'm an odd fellow, but I'm aware of this. The only way that I've really changed other than the gray and the beard, is being a little more outgoing. I mean, that's thanks to radio.
Noted extrovert, Lonzo.
Yes. Radio has helped me a great deal from that.
Because you kind of don't really get a choice.
Thank you, James. It could be. You're right. There he is.
Look at that. Look at that.
Just in time, too.
Coach, what's happening, fella?
What's up, Rob? How are you, buddy?
How
How
are
you
you,
guys
buddy?
doing? Say again?
I said, how are you, pal?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I'm doing well. Sorry, a little tardy here. We're just finishing up some team
Oh,
video.
yeah, no, you're good, man. Listen, I as important as I know this is, I will accept that my priority is slightly behind film and training. Just barely. Just barely.
Slightly.
I love it.
We have 30 seconds.
30 seconds till we come back. How's the session look today, Coach? Feeling good?
It looks great. Yeah, a lot of good work being done on the field. Guys are doing well, fighting, competing. A lot of good conversations, hard conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe it. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk a little football. Look at that. Look at Harksey setting up the scene. I like it. He gets it. He gets it. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Alonzo with you on a beautiful Upstate Wednesday afternoon after a beautiful Upstate Saturday night. Looking forward to another one at Legacy early as your Greenville Triumph are set to play their final regular season home match this Saturday evening when they return to the LEC. And joining us now on the Facebook stream. So if you want to see the devilishly handsome face of the head coach of your Greenville Triumph, John Harks, you can join us on our live stream to do it. Harksy, what's up, Coach?
I'm doing well, Rob. Man, I don't know what coffee you have. The energy levels are amazing. Amazing. Thank you.
Not all of us are premier athletes, Coach. Some of us have to get the artificially induced adrenaline this early in the morning. Some of y'all are running around a grass pitch at 9 a.m. Others of us are just trying to pull our lives together. It's all a show.
I love it. Thanks for having me on. Great to be with you.
Of course, always. Let's rewind just a little bit, Coach, before we start looking ahead to Saturday. You guys, and I think it's evident from anybody who's watching the team, this team is playing hard. This team is competing. This team is leaving what they got on the pitch. It has just been, and there have been some phenomenal finishes. The stoppage time draw a couple of weeks ago was a finish that relied on pure heart. But there's just that one more step to go from getting those 1 points to turning those gut-out performances into 3.
Yeah.
What's it going to take for you guys to turn that corner, to hit that last gear, and to get 6 points out of these final 2 matches?
It's going to take, a recognition from the guys themselves, a little bit more conviction in that final third to finish off games, to make plays. I mean, you've got to stand up and recognize that and have the awareness to say, this moment, this critical moment in the game needs my 100% focus and energy. And when you put that into it, that's what makes plays. That's what changes games. And we're having hard discussions about it every day. And we just finished a video session this morning, just looking back on the last game. And we shouldn't concede the 2 goals we did. It's not good enough. And we know that. The one thing about our team, Rob, is that we're honest. The guys, they know, they put their hands up and they know when they can make a better play. And for whatever reason, they switched off. It happens at every level around the world. We see it all the time. And you just got to be able to keep that focus for long stretches in the game. But the critical moments that lead to the opportunities for the opposition have to be shut down. It has to be like somebody needs to step up and do it. And more often than not, we want the leaders to do it, but we see the other players as well that are there. And, look, it's just make a play in the field that stops them from advancing forward. And, we could definitely have avoided that in the last few games. But as you said, one of the biggest things, the biggest positive I take from us not winning games outright right away is that we are showing the resilience. We have this never say die attitude. And whether we get, players sent off or injuries or whatever it may be, the adversity comes in different ways. And 3 weeks ago, we're playing with nine players against 11, and we still on the road in a difficult scenario in a baseball field. I'll say it. And it's not the best place to play, but we still find a way to get a 1-1 draw out of it and finish our penalty. Aaron Walker steps up, ice in his veins, and he puts it away. The following week, we're playing with 10 men up in northern Colorado, and we find a way to score in the 93rd minute. Evan Lee gets his first goal as a pro with our club. And so these are big moments that you build on. And what we always want to make sure that we point out the things that we can improve, find solutions to, but we also want to make sure we give credit to the guys that when they do make big plays, we're there for them. We recognize it. And so we got to build upon the good as much as we can in order to move forward. But that final third, that conviction, the connectivity in the game in the 18, we have to be ruthless. We have to be ruthless. And we've got to be ruthless against Charlotte, a team that beat us not too long ago up at their place, 2-1. And it was a penalty kick early that they got, and a little bit of luck and fortune, and then a set-piece corner. And we're not conceding in the run-up play, which is good, but we've got to be better. So it's going to be a fight to the finish on Saturday night.
John Harkes, head coach of the Greenville Triumph here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. I want to go back to what you were saying at the beginning of that take, Coach, about these hard conversations. I've been very fortunate to be around your club, be around you, be around the boys enough to know that there's really no divas on this team, right? Like it's a team full of guys that know they are part of a team, and that being part of the team is important for you as a coach, for you as a manager, when you are trying to have those tough conversations about what needs to get better, because turning these ones into threes, it has a lot of determination of what the playoffs look like. How do you structure that? I mean, is there a lot of guys in the locker room that are willing to be the voices that are engaging in the tough conversation? How is that conversation going inside your locker room leading up to the final 2 games of the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, look, Rob, we want, there's a couple of experienced pros in our group, I mean, Tyler Pollock, Brandon Fricky, Evan Lee, Aaron Walker. I mean, they're Don Smart. There's older veteran players here, and we want that leadership. Is it going to be there all the time? No. Do we need leadership from other players? Of course you do. But you want the hard conversations to be, open and forthright. It can't be something that you kind of dismiss and just turn away from. And we've had some really good ones lately, and the guys are pretty good about it. We want to encourage them to be able to hold each other accountable. The teams I've been on, and whether it be in a club situation overseas in the Premier League or Major League Soccer with DC United or New England Revolution or Columbus Crew or whoever I was playing with, or even at the Olympics and national team level, the really great teams are the ones that hold each other accountable. You don't need the coaches to do that. The ones that are good teams is when the coaches hold the players accountable. We want it to be a great team. We want the players to hold each other accountable. So the more that they become verbal and want to have those hard discussions on the field, but also as they walk off the field, and we have lunch together every day. I did that on purpose to have a culture where they discuss what just happened in training. And the more we hear that, the better we feel as a coaching team, because you don't want to micromanage a team. They're not robots. They're humans. They have to be able to deal with the emotions on a daily basis, up and down, good and bad, and fight through that. And so hopefully we become stronger and come out of it against Charlotte.
Talk to me about maintaining a positive mentality, because you had the game this past Saturday evening. The Triumph are up 2-1. You conceded the late goal to Tucson, and the air came out of the section. Shouldn't happen. And obviously as a coach, a player, a fan, you don't want to see it happen. But especially when it's a late goal and you know how valuable that 3 would have been when you guys are fighting with a real opportunity to be top of the table. How do you take this team, walk off the pitch, and say the next day, that one's got, Ted Lasso, we got to be goldfish. We got to put that out of the memory and move on to the next one. As a manager, how do you handle getting them to have that short-term memory so that this Saturday when Charlotte comes down, you get the same sense of energy and vigor we saw out of the first 83 minutes of play?
Yeah, I do it right away. It's in the post game on the field. We say it right away. And, I say to, thank you, Alex. I say to a lot of the players and the coaching staff right away, like, it's positive. We keep going. We lift them up a little bit because we've been on the end of that where we're successful, where like we've talked about it. Omaha, we get the 1-1 draw in the 95th minute, or at Northern Colorado, we get the 1-1 draw in the 93rd minute. And so we've done that as well. And there are going to be games like that. You prepare them just like the game ebbs and flows constantly. So do results. And you've got to be able to push them through. There are a lot of good things happening on the training field. There's a lot of good things happening in the game situation. If we were playing poorly, Rob, and we weren't the better team in the last 2 or 3 games, I would be concerned. We are the better team. And when we tie games, we should be winning those games. When we lose games, we should be tying those games. And it just comes down to 1 or 2 critical moments on the field where guys switch off. And we got to get that fine-tuned focus in there. And it's coming. And there's a lot of great stuff that's happening right now. So we're at a platform where we're ready to break through. And I really, truly believe that.
And I think the positive of that, Coach, is, and we have this discussion every March when the basketball tournament rolls around, every single NFL postseason, that sometimes it's not necessarily the best team, but it's the team that gets hot at the exact right moment headed into the postseason. We got 2 to play in the regular season. You guys sit second on the table right now, and with a little help, theoretically, could still win and be top of the table, even if you go in as the 2 or the 3 seed. How do you try to get to that spot? And obviously, if we could say this is what you do to hit the stride, everybody would be a coach. But how do you try to give yourself the best chance to hit that hot streak and become the team that gets white hot right at the beginning of the USL League One postseason?
It's the details that goes into the work. We're fine-tuning everything. We don't turn a blind eye to anything. We don't dismiss responsibilities as a coaching staff. We uncover every stone and pebble. We look at everything, and we're also careful too, though, finding the balance. From my perspective, you can't give players too much information because now they can't really stay focused and have a clear direction on where they're going. But the communication levels in this club are always open and honest. And when you have that, you have a clear understanding, better understanding about what's expected of you and what we want to try to do as a team. When we accomplish that part, anything's possible, to be honest with you, because now guys clearly define their roles. They understand the details in the game that we got to do and the tactical approach to each team. Charlotte, tactically speaking, through the center and midfield, I think we're a better team, and I think we can drive the game there centrally. And we're getting a lot of great energy, and first goal too for Alex Cox-Ashwood, a player who has been in and out of our lineup throughout the year, a couple of injuries here and there, moved him around in different spots on the field. And now we put him up front as a striker, and he's coming through. His energy levels, his chasing down. I just told the team, I'll take 11 guys that have grit, determination, resilience, and fight and passion for the game over any 11 talented players, because talent forgets to work a lot. They forget, they leave it, and the workers always end up coming through. So I would take that, roll up your sleeves, let's get to work, boys, and let's fight. And we need more of that against Charlotte.
Let's talk about that Charlotte match. Charlotte sits 6th on the table right now. They're a good team, a middle of the table team. They're only a win's worth of points behind us overall. And I think maybe even a little bit better of a team than we thought they would be at the beginning of the table. And I think they do have a little bit of that grit and determination. What are the adjustments that we could look for as Triumph fans on Saturday? Not just that 3 points are valuable in trying to chase down Richmond. 3 are valuable in making sure we stay ahead of Omaha so we don't have to go to Nebraska again. But on top of that, if Charlotte takes 3, they jump up and tie us and could take that lead from us and bump us as far back as 4th. Knowing how important it is, what adjustments will Triumph fans see on the pitch on Saturday evening at Fan Appreciation Night?
Yeah, I think it's an important game, Rob, and our adjustments are that we need to get better with the ball in the final third. We need more creativity, and guys actually in a central position. It's kind of hard to recognize sometimes, but as we advance the ball from the back line and we go through the midfield, we want to make sure that as that next phase in the game that we're playing the ball up front, that it's sticking, that it's holding, that we're able to kind of bring other guys into the game and really control the time period that we have the ball. We need to enjoy being with the ball more in that final third. So you're going to see a lot more creativity. You're going to see more of Jesus Ibarra on the pitch, if he stays healthy. You're going to see guys like Gavilanes picking his head up and finding some early service, which sometimes he gets caught with his head down and he's running with the ball too much and he gets double teamed. So we want to be able to see that. Aaron and Don right now working through the midfield have been very good. They've got a great tandem there. We want to see a little bit more shots from distance as well, threatening the goal. And then look, when it comes down to that final ball into the box, we want to make sure that it's a cultured one. There's a lot of thought behind that process. We're not just putting a ball in there. It's not a cross. It's a final pass. We want to make sure there's connectivity with the ball to the strikers. And if we can get that right, we're going to get a lot more chances. We're going to increase the percentage of us getting shots on frame and making sure that we score goals.
John Harkes, head coach of the Greenville Triumph here on the Rob Brown Show. Last one before we let you go, Coach. It is Fan Appreciation Night. I know that the Triumph are going to be doing a lot to show their appreciation for the folks that have continued to pack out Legacy early. It is the final regular season home match, and 3 points could make a world of difference into what the playoff trips look or don't look like. How important is it for you guys in terms of energy, in terms of juice for the boys? How important is it for Legacy Early to be packed up on Saturday night for Fan Appreciation Night?
It's always important, Rob, and as you know, and you've been there, and we hear you screaming as well. You're one of our biggest fans. We get the fan support, and it's incredibly important to hear that. The players feed off of it. They love it, and when you're a player on the field and you're wearing the Greenville Triumph badge on your heart, and you got the colors, and the fans are just cheering for you and pushing you on. That's a whole nother level of energy that comes into the game, and it just drives the passion of what we're doing in Triumph Stadium. And so we need the fans there. We need to sell it out. We want to hear them loud and proud, and we've got to deliver. So once you get the fans there, they always push us on, and you know this, you've been there and you've seen it. We have a great fan base. And so let's pack it. Let's make sure that it's full, and let's get after it. Let's make them happy at the end of the day and get the 3 points and win this game.
Not to add any pressure, but our buddy Gio just popped in and said it is his birthday this weekend, Coach, so he would appreciate a W as a birthday gift. No big deal.
We got to get the dub. We got to get the dub for Gio. We'll get it for his birthday, all right? Birthday wishes going out. It will be granted, Sir Gio.
Love it. Love it. John Harkes, head coach of your Greenville Triumph. They play this Saturday at Legacy Early College against Charlotte Independence. Kickoff at 7, and this one has a lot of impact on what the playoff standings will look like at the end of the year. Coach, you're a beaut, man. Appreciate you, big dog.
Thanks, man. You're going to throw me the pigskin there? What you doing? You're getting ready? Are you a QB now?
I need you focused on the other football, Coach. I need you focused on the other one, big dog. We'll see you Saturday night, baby.
Sing along.
There it is.
Thanks, guys.
See you Saturday, Coach.
Thanks for having me on, Bob.
Absolutely. That is John Harkes, head coach of your Greenville Triumph. We are back after this for the second hour. Emily Adams of the Greenville News will join us out of the gate to talk a little Gamecock football next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Rich, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. Been a minute. Appreciate you coming by, fella. All right, got to pop off and give Alonzo a phone number. We shall return briefly.
sometimes you just need somebody else to look. That's all.
Correct.
That's all.
And a therapist.
Well, that too. But,
Vegas, hey, my man Rich. I like it. What you doing out in Vegas, buddy? I love Vegas. I've only been once, but I fell in love with it. I cannot wait to come back. Now I know somebody in Vegas.
QC in the first break.
QC in the first break.
Wow.
Dadgummit.
Wow, that was
out of the gate.
That was so awesome. I'm glad the people on the stream got to see that happen.
Out of the gate, I forgot to turn the mic on before I started screaming like an idiot. Oh, well.
I enjoyed every second of that.
Sorry, you're on 3 already, man.
I know. That's why I enjoyed it.
I'm still trailing.
It's Wednesday, too.
Hour numero dos of the Rob Brown Show starts right now. It's the Fan Upstate, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Great to have you, Rob Brown and the great one, Lonzo, with you on a gorgeous Upstate Wednesday afternoon. Perfect. It just feels like college football outside, doesn't it? It just feels like college football weather. So,
No. I hate that. No. College football weather is like 75.
That's what it is.
Well, it will be.
It's like, I think today's high is like 75.
Yeah, but it's like cold other places, and it doesn't need to be cold to play football.
No.
You've never played football when you can't feel your feet. It's not fun.
Correct. That sounds dumb. That sounds not enjoyable at all.
It was not.
I know. I don't need to listen. I've told you my theory on getting in a fist fight. I've never been in a fist fight in my life, and it's not because like I'm afraid of it or whatever. The only reason I haven't been in a fist fight yet is because I don't need to be punched in the face to understand that getting punched in the face probably sucks a lot. I don't want to try it.
It does.
Yeah.
Especially if you get punched and you have braces when it happens.
I don't want to do it.
It's not fun.
I don't need the experience. So yes, I will take my 72 and sunny and be perfectly thrilled with it, man. Perfectly thrilled with it.
All right, I apologize because I thought you were one of those people who thinks it needs to be like 62 degrees to play football.
I'll take it. But 72 is the perfect temperature. Speaking of college football, #segue. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's welcome in our weekly resident of this segment, based out of Columbia, South Carolina, covering the Gamecocks athletic department for the Greenville News. She is Miss Emily Adams, joining us on the show. Emily, what's up, homie?
Hey, Rob, how's it going?
Living the dream, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, I can't complain. I have to say, I am from the Northeast, so I have both covered and played in plenty of sports games where you can't feel your feet, and it is dumb. That is a good read on that.
I was gonna say I have just one question for you, Emily, as somebody who has done the so-called "you can't feel your feet" sports, and that question is, why?
I wish I had a good answer for you. I went to college in upstate New York, and it started snowing in October there. So anything below above 50 here in the fall, I'm feeling great about.
I'm with you entirely. Give me hoodie weather, and that is perfect for sports. Anything less than hoodie weather is just unacceptable. Emily Adams from the Greenville News joins us on Wednesdays to talk a little Gamecock football. And I wanted to get into, very quickly, Emily, something that Shane Beamer said yesterday, because I opened this week by saying, I think Shane Beamer, is doing an excellent job with culture building, right? And I think most Gamecock fans agree with that. He's doing a phenomenal job as far as building the culture goes. But there comes a point, and I don't know where that point is for Gamecock fans. I don't know if we've hit it. I don't know if it's next year. I don't know if it's a year after that. But at some point, having a great culture's got to start translating into wins. Beamer, to me, sounded remarkably optimistic about South Carolina coming off of back-to-back wins, granted against lower-tier schools, going up against Kentucky, a team that lost to Ole Miss this weekend, granted a top 25 matchup, but a Kentucky team that kind of showed a few chinks in the armor this past weekend. Beamer sounds like a guy who genuinely believes that South Carolina has a crack at the Wildcats this weekend. In your opinion, Emily, is he right?
I think he's absolutely right. I mean, it's definitely, no walk in the park. It's no, Mizzou or Vandy. It's not an SEC game that you come into thinking, we've got this in the bag by any stretch of the imagination. But I would not know that I would be surprised to see them win. I think it's definitely an upset, but I think it's an interesting matchup, and I think a good one for them in some ways. So I think it's going to be interesting if they can come out and play like they've been playing in some of these second halves, like they played that second half against Arkansas. If they look like that for a full 4 quarters, I think they have plenty of chance.
What does that look like, right? What does a win for the Gamecocks look like? Is it Spencer Rattler crossing that 225, 250-yard mark? Is it the offensive line opening lines and getting the running back some space to work? And I know both of those things would help immensely, but if South Carolina pulls off an upset this weekend and a victory that we would be talking about in depth next week, what does the stat line look like at the end of the game?
Yeah, I almost think in some ways this game is more important on the defensive side for South Carolina specifically. I think obviously we've seen the last 2 weeks they're able to get that run game going. We've seen in the past, in that Arkansas game, Spencer had almost 400 yards passing. Last week with South Carolina State, I think he was a little under 220. And then the run game had over 100, 200 yards as well. So I think that balance is something that's been working really well for them. But I think the biggest test in this game is going to come down to the South Carolina defense, because I'm confident that the offense will be able to put up some points. It's just a question of how much they can control what Kentucky can do, what Will Levis can do on that side of the ball. So I think a good defensive game, even if the offensive game, frankly, maybe isn't what, fans are expecting or want to see, I think the defense can keep them in this single-handedly in some ways.
Emily Adams is a beat reporter for the Greenville News, covering the Gamecocks of South Carolina Athletic Department. Marcus Satterfield, Emily, has been under a lot of heat from South Carolina fans. There have been folks that have been concerned about the play calling. There have been folks that have been saying that maybe the talent hasn't been utilized correctly. And I've got no doubt that Satterfield hears that. I got no doubt that Shane hears that. Has there been any chatter? I believe, and I could be incorrect, correct me if I am, I believe that Beamer has kind of softly defended Satterfield over the past couple of weeks, but what is the feeling in Columbia on both the fan side and the team side regarding Marcus Satterfield in his role as offensive coordinator?
Yeah, I mean, Beamer has definitely not, directly defended him, but has, taken credit for some of those decisions that have been questioned, and just kind of generally has, emphasized that the two of them work together in game planning and in, the scripted drives and all of that. But I think Marcus knows it. I think Shane knows it. And I think the fans know it, that Marcus's seat is the hottest right now out of anybody's, because, even with the injuries, the defense has been playing well. Clayton White has been doing a really good job with them. I think they've been, adjusting after halftime if things aren't going well and improving. They're matching up well with, in ways with players that, shouldn't even be starting. Some of them, they had 4 true freshmen on the field at one point a couple weeks ago. So, I think for Marcus is working with weapons. He doesn't have to turn them into anything. He's got, a bunch of super senior receivers and a whole bunch of transfer receivers and 2 to 3 really solid running backs. And obviously Marshawn Lloyd's, kind of having his breakout right now. And Christian Beal-Smith is back and healthy. And, you have the former number 1 quarterback prospect in the country. So I think what's frustrating, especially for fans, is that, you look at that on paper and expect this offense to be insanely productive with just all the talent they have at the skill player positions. But I think not that Marcus doesn't know what to do with it, but I think they're all still kind of in this learning phase. A lot of those transfers didn't even get here until fall camp. And so I think it's tough, with a first-year quarterback, with most of his go-to targets being first-year receivers, with one of your 2 go-to running backs being a transfer. I think they struggled, especially early on, to just kind of find that rhythm and find, what was working for them. And, the way that the play calling and just the offense in general has flowed both against Charlotte and against South Carolina State was encouraging to me. I thought it looked better than it had, even against Georgia State, going back to the very beginning. I don't even think it's a matter of it's just 2 weak opponents, because things were definitely worse in week 1. So I think they're in kind of a slippery situation here where, if they turn things around in this back half of the season, all will be forgiven. But if, this is a below 6-win season, I think Marcus's head is going to be the one that's kind of on the chopping block there as the sacrificial lamb.
Emily Adams from the Greenville News joins us here on the show. And that's really, it's really interesting you say that, the concept of a learning curve, a learning season to some degree, based on the fact that, and you're right, you got a lot of guys on the field that came in during fall camp, maybe after fall camp. You got a lot of kids that are, it would be understandable to say, still learning the offense. But my question mark there would be, if you are a Gamecock fan, where is the mark where you go, we should not still be learning, we should have learned at this point, right? Like, we should already know there shouldn't be any more of this getting to know you. We should just be at the point where we get it. And do you think that, in your opinion, I guess, that South Carolina reaches that point this year? Or do you think that the Gamecocks as a program and as a fan base would accept hey, 6 wins ain't what we want, but we feel like we're still moving in the right direction, regardless of what happens with Marcus Satterfield moving forward?
Yeah, for this season, on the subject of, at what point you have to stop learning, I think it's this week for me. I mean, I think if they go into this Kentucky game knowing that they're re-entering SEC play, coming off a long rest now that they, kind of got as a surprise with that Thursday game last week, I think if they look as bad as they looked against Arkansas in the first half, if they look as bad as they looked against Georgia, coming back into SEC play now with two lighter opponents under the belt that gave them time to figure out some of those kinks with a long rest week, that is really concerning for me for the rest of this season. All the players, the coaches are I think, trying to kind of not minimize this game, but, mentally keep it as not more than it is. But I think from the outside looking in, I mean, this is kind of the defining game for the rest of this year. But again, I don't also expect them to reach this sort of, we're 100% comfortable and everything is flowing exactly as it should, even in this year, just because it's really hard to do that with a first-year quarterback. It's really hard to have somebody who, has a couple months of experience in your system with your guys, adjust to be fully comfortable and fully confident, even over the course of a year. So, if Rattler declares for the draft, which I think is kind of the expectation at this point, obviously, it'll be interesting to see sort of what things look like next year. If he stays, I think that's kind of a game changer in some ways for the offense and for what it could look like moving forward.
Speaking of Rattler, speaking of Stogner, speaking of some of these guys that have been influential over the past couple of weeks, one thing that was interesting to me, I was listening to Shane Beamer the other day talking about this team, and he said, look, we have got an NFL-ready QB. We've got an NFL-ready tight end. We've got an NFL-caliber running back. We should be just fine. And I almost thought to myself, I think that Shane Beamer is doing a fine job, but in listening to him say that stuff, it almost came across to me, Emily, as like my response was, well, then why aren't we playing better, right? Like if you've got NFL caliber skill all over the field, like you say you do, I don't kind of wonder if in trying to defend his guys, Shane Beamer isn't kind of moving the bar up just a little bit past, hey, bowl eligibility is okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I think in some ways, bowl eligibility is okay. I think a lot of fans that will kind of, you make a bowl, it's like, all right, you've got something at least. But I think, part of that is Beamer trying to defend them. And I think part of that is just that preseason hype is never going to go away of what, South Carolina fans wanted Spencer Rattler to be, wanted this transfer class to be. And again, I think they still have the potential to develop into that. I think Spencer has definitely gotten better from Georgia State. We can confidently say that. Stogner wasn't super involved early on and now has really taken on a bigger role. He's doing a lot, especially in terms of blocking for that offensive line. You look at someone like Christian Beal-Smith, who wasn't even able to play the first, 2 or 3 games, and now has, been impactful with positive yardage in the run game. So I think things are trending positive for sure. I just think they're never going to move as fast as fans want them to. They're frankly, they're never going to live up to that preseason hype of, this team is going to compete for real in the SEC because, at the end of the day, even if they do, beat Kentucky, say, you still have that Georgia game that you're going to look at and go, okay, but we're not at that level yet, So I think the expectations needed to be tempered in some ways because, what people were hoping for in the preseason, I think, was never going to necessarily be realistic.
We are talking to Emily Adams. She writes and covers the Greenville for the Greenville News, covering the Gamecocks of South Carolina. All right, Emily, one more, and then we'll cut you loose. Be the soothsayer, grab the crystal ball. When we come back in on Monday and the Rob Brown Show opens and it's time to break down this game, I am going to be saying what?
I'm trying to be optimistic here because I like what I've seen the last 2 weeks. I know Charlotte and South Carolina State are bad, but I think they have looked just like quantifiably better outside of, the external factor of the opponent. I don't think we're going to be talking about a win. I will say that. My prediction is not that this is going to be a win for them. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised by it. But what I'm hoping for, I think, for them is just for it to be a good game. I want to come in and talk about them starting the game well and being able to score points in the first quarter, which has been a huge issue this year. I want to come in and talk about them, containing what Will Levis is able to do. And I think we're going to be talking about Will Levis and, how he was able to kind of put yards up on them because at the end of the day, he's excellent. And I think, there will be disappointments from this game, I'm sure, especially coming off of two, 50-point games where everything was just, flowing perfectly, basically. But I think there are going to be positive takeaways. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to come down to the fourth quarter. And I think that's really as much as you can ask for, is for them to just be competitive.
Emily Adams is in Columbia, South Carolina. She covers the Gamecocks for the Greenville News. You can find her on the social media on Twitter at EAAdams6. She's a phenomenal follow if you are a Gamecocks fan, getting a little bit of everything. And Emily, in just a few weeks, not only will we be talking South Carolina football, but we'll be firing up the old basketball machine as well. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you as always.
Emily's the best. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. That is Emily Adams again at EAAdams6 on Twitter. Appreciate her time. Let's take a break. When we come back, it's wide open. The phone lines are open at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-FANFONE, 844-326-3663. You can text us on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air. Tweet us at The Rob Brown Show at Lonzo on Word. We have been jammed up with interviews. Now the phone lines belong to you. What do you have to say, Gamecock fans, about this game against Kentucky on Saturday? Clemson fans, you have gained ground on Michigan as the 4 spot on the AP poll. That's big on your quest for a return to the college football playoffs. Let's talk about that when we come back on The Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
QC.
Anybody stay up and watch the Braves celebrate? Those guys were hitting the reporters with champagne like they were using super soaker water guns. I did. I celebrated hard last night. Michael Harris became my new favorite player. He said, I don't even drink. Why does this stuff burn? I didn't see that. That's amazing.
Was he drinking when he said that, or did he get some in his eyes?
Your burrito prayers have been answered.
Nacho cheese.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. Thanks again to Emily Adams for joining us on Wednesdays to talk a little Gamecock football. Well, this texter said, Rob, 30 minutes of good football against two hand-picked whipping boys ain't turning a corner. I will say that I like the optimism from Emily. I like the optimism from Shamo. I like Shano coming out and saying we are chomping at the bit to play Kentucky. We got NFL guys all over the field, and we feel like we've turned a corner. I appreciate all of that. Of course, I want optimism out of my fan base, out of my media, and out of my coach. I will also say that we were sitting at the lady friend's parents' house watching that game, and for about a quarter, it didn't look. I mean, Charlotte had the lead for a minute against South Carolina, right? Like, it's not like the Gamecocks went wire to wire. It's not like they came out and started submitting Charlotte early. And Charlotte is really bad at football, right? They are a bad football team. So I like the confidence. Of course, I want the confidence, but I also think there's got to be a little bit of honesty in the conversation out of the guys. For Shane, and look, they put up 50 back-to-back. That's good. That's real good. Shows me your offense is going to start clicking a little bit more. But this like unbridled optimism, I don't know why it bugs me the way that it does. I'm like, dude.
Because you're the opposite of that. Maybe that's why.
I am not an unbridled optimist. That is correct. I'm not. I'm a realist.
Because when I come in here all, happy and everything, you look at me like, what is wrong with you? And by the way, they could have turned the corner as far as chemistry goes, as far as knowing the guy next to you. See, I mean, sometimes you need that sort of thing to get more comfortable with each other, and then you can face better competition.
And listen, I really hope that's correct. I really hope that is correct. It's not that I don't want to be optimistic. It's that I get optimism when optimism is deserved.
It's like going on a radio show with someone you don't know. How long does it really take for sometimes things never gel, and then other times, after a while, it's like, okay, I get this, you get this, that type of thing.
Sure. And I think that's a very apt comparison.
And that's how football works, and it's so cyclical because people leave, new people come in, so you have to learn those people. And nothing helps you learn better than, winning a couple games.
Yeah, like Lonzo and I built our chemistry, and I will say that it was very, very easy. And the fortunate part for Lonzo and I is that, I had filled in for Mark Ryan a number of times when Lonzo was on that show, so we had worked together. Lonzo had filled in for Diesel a number of times, so we had worked together on this show. So it wasn't all that difficult, but, we had a couple of days where we were like, let's hit our stride. Let's figure this thing out. And now, here we are a year and a half later, and we got a good thing going, right?
I thought it was longer than that, but that's fine.
That we had a good thing going, or it took to get our chemistry figured out?
No. I thought it was.
It may have been. I don't remember.
I thought it's pretty close to 2 years, isn't it?
Was it?
It was in December, so this is pretty close to 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, time flies when you're winning awards.
It does.
All right, so like I appreciate the honesty. when it's given. Unbridled optimism, I just can't get behind. It's just my nature. I just can't, because it's on the philosophical thing. Unbridled optimism is just believing in things that you don't have a reason to believe in.
How come I hear the sun will come out tomorrow, like playing in my head the whole time you're talking?
Not everything is sunshine and rainbows, baby. Right? It's an extension.
The sun shines right out there.
I know, it's beautiful out.
Yes.
This is an extension of the conversation that Lonzo and I have had in the past, right? Because, like, I came in here to do, alongside Lonzo, the Views from Mint Street podcast on the Monday after the Panthers beat the Saints, right? Snapped a 9-game losing streak. Snapped the worst home losing streak in the NFL. And I came here on Monday and I opened the show with, here's all the things the Panthers should have done better. Lonzo's like, why can't we just focus on the win? Because focusing on the good doesn't make you get better. You don't get better by focus on what you're doing right. You focus on what you're doing wrong, what you can do better. And I just hear out of Bema, if you go listen to a Nick Saban press conference, right? And I'm certainly not accusing Shane Beamer of being on Nick Saban's level. But if you listen to a Nick Saban press conference, Saban's press conferences have a formula, right? There's a process there. And it goes, I think we had a really good, I don't know why he's Shaq. Oh, we had a really good game.
He's closer to Belichick as Buddy.
I mean, Hoodie's the same way, though, right? Like, Hoodie's the same way. Most of the great coaches are. Most, not all, but most of the great coaches are. They are going to hit you in the presser with, I was impressed by A, B, and C, but D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. We have to do better. We're not good enough. We're not going to, you're like, Coach, you won 29 straight football games. He's like, yeah, and we're still not good enough.
Yeah, but those guys, what they do is they come into a press conference, they take over the press conference and do things the way they want to do it. They're not derailed, nothing like that, and then they move on. And being emotionless helps because it takes all the fun out of the room, and the reporters are easily, baffled or just uninterested after a while because they know that's all they're going to get, and then they move on. Beamer he's happy. He's going to answer questions. He's going to expound on things. Which do you like better? I mean, you used to be a reporter. Who would you rather interview?
Saban. You know why? Because while he is a jackass a lot of the time, he answers the questions, right?
But I think this goes back to your nature, is what you were talking about
100%
before.
it does.
So
100%
it
does. Now, I'll also give you this, right? I'll tell you what Saban did in his press conference earlier this week that absolutely crawled under my skin. I was furious with him, right? Bryce Young's out with a busted shoulder. We don't know for how long, but more than likely he is out this Saturday when Bama takes on Texas A&M.
That's what he gets for taking that kid's room. He got back at him.
It's the Dr. Pepper NIL curse.
It's the Fanville thing. Yeah.
The Fanville curse is real. So actually, is that a thing? Is the Fansville curse the new Madden curse for college football?
I don't know.
It got DJ in year 1. It got Bryce in year 2. It's 100% so far.
Stinking NIL.
So, Bryce is out, right? Bryce is out for Texas A&M. Now, A&M's not good. They're out of the top 25, right? They got by Mississippi State. They got by Appalachian State. They're not good. But
this is Jimbo's time. It's time to prove he can come in with anger and show what he can do after all that controversy earlier in the year.
I was going to say, sarcasm aside, keep in mind, number one, who was the only team to beat Alabama outside of the national championship last year?
No, I get you.
Texas A&M. And go back to preseason. I was on the Alonzo was out the day that Nick Saban and Jimbo got into it, and Jimbo sat down at that press conference and absolutely pointed the arsenal at Nick Saban, right? He's like, maybe y'all should go ask God some questions, right? Go ask God some questions. Maybe you'll find some shady stuff around God that you don't like, right? And Saban got heated. Saban got heated. So in the press conference that Saban held earlier this week, he's in front of journalists, and a journalist asked him, hey, Nick, Bryce Young is out this weekend. You are going to be more than likely running out your backup quarterback. You are likely going to be running out Jalen Milroe. Are there any special packages for Jalen Milroe? Do you have any designated plays just for Jalen? Remember, Jalen ran the hell out of the football last week. What do you have, a 77-yarder? Nearly 100 yards rushing as a QB? I don't think it's unfair to ask the question, now that we have seen Jalen take over the ball with his legs, are you going to have design runs? And I get why Nick Saban's not going to want to give the farm away coming up against Jimbo, right? He don't want to tell Jimbo what he's doing, but he's like, are you going to have any packages coming up for Jalen Milroe? And Saban's like, oh, you want me to call you? You want me to call my coaches in here right now and tell them? What do you think we should do? Should we call my coaches in here and tell them what to do? Should I just call Jimbo and tell him what? I'm like, dude, you don't have to be a smartass, Nick.
Good for him.
You don't have to be a Delta Bravo.
I got to go look that up. That's how you should react to reporters asking dumb questions.
Lonzo, of all people that I would expect the mantra of don't be an a-hole for no reason, I would assume that would come from you.
You and I have had these conversations many times now. You always take the reporter's side because you used to be a reporter. I get it. Those are your peeps, and you got their back and stuff. But sometimes the thing is, either you want these guys to be honest when they're up there, or you want standard answers. Whenever there's a non-standard answer, or if they show emotion, suddenly it's a problem. I also I don't understand how we're having this conversation when you're just an NFL guy.
Here's the thing. It's not about defending a journalist here. Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I do that.
Just a little bit.
Because it's not an easy job, and the majority of you couldn't do it. All right?
He was looking at me. The majority of you couldn't do.
No, I'm with all due respect, I'm including you in that.
Oh, I could ask questions.
It's not about it. Could you knock on the door of a mom who just lost her kid in a car accident and ask, do you think there should be more stop signs in the neighborhood?
It
sucks.
So you're putting journalism as a whole when I'm just talking about sports journalism.
Okay, let's talk sports journalism. I'm good with that. All right, let's put that together.
I wouldn't be allowed in most rooms because of my hair. They just don't like that sort of thing.
You can put it up in a bun. You look very professional.
No thanks.
I've seen it. You look very professional.
Yeah, suddenly my head hurts. Thanks.
It is not unfair when a college football coach loses a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, has to go to his backup. A backup, which, by the way, has an entirely different skill set than the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback who's out. It is not unfair for a journalist who represents the fans of that team to say, hey, coach.
Does the journalist represent the fans of that team?
Yes. Who the hell else is he asking questions for? That's who he's asking questions for.
Or is his boss who sent him there?
When Emily asks Shane Beamer a question and gets an answer and she puts it up in her work, who's reading that? The fans who want answers. They represent the fans, right? They're your liaison, like it or not. So it is not unfair for a head coach to go, hey, coach, your Heisman Trophy winning quarterback is out. The quarterback who's your backup that's going to start this weekend has an entirely different skill set. How do you plan on handling that? Are you changing the offense? Will it be more predicated on the run? Will we see some options out of Milroe? Will we see some RPO out of Milroe? Like, what's the plan here? And so for Saban to go, and I quote, I don't know. I was going to call Jimbo afterward and tell him exactly what we wanted to do. So if he can hear it in a press conference, I don't have to call him. Why do you have to be a jackass?
All right. Why do you got to ask stupid questions? Okay.
How is that a stupid? Take a break.
It's a stupid question.
Take a break. Lonzo said some wrong things on the show before, but I am taken aback by this one. He didn't ask him what his favorite Little Debbie is. I don't think, hey, take a break. 844 fan phone. Who's right here? Is that a dumb question? It's not, right? It's not. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Is Rob's anger feigned anger, or is it legitimate?
It's not. In this case, it's not. I will acknowledge that sometimes I exaggerate for the sake of on-air quality. I don't get how that...
Here's how you can tell that he's invested emotionally. His head moved. His head did the thing. Easy, Steven. This really bothers him. So, of course, I'm going to back off because that's what I'm known for doing. So mad he can't even be in the same room with me. Oh my gosh.
Network. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-Network.
Traveling, volunteering, spending time with family. What's your retirement look like? With income planning from Fidelity Wealth Management, a dedicated advisor can help you grow and protect your wealth. They'll look at your full financial picture and help you create a flexible strategy that considers things like market conditions and healthcare expenses, so you can stop worrying about the future and enjoy whatever comes next. Visit fidelity.com/income planning. Investment minimum.
And right after he said, y'all have good chemistry, Lonzo. Way to go.
No, it's actually proof. I mean, you know.
Good chemistry is the ability to have these conversations and not feel the need to go talk to the boss right afterwards. Hey, Chris.
I'm going to go talk to the boss.
That sounds about right.
We don't have time. You waited too long.
Oh, don't you?
Come back in 5 minutes.
You can hang out for 7 minutes if you want. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's the Fan Upstate. Grab that microphone, Chris.
Why? Because you need an audience. He's not impartial.
I need an impartial advisor.
He is not impartial.
Non-sports guy.
I will say that I have been watching on the stream. I was trying to time your break, and then I got a phone call right when you went to break. So
who bothers you when you want to come hang out with us? Rude. All right, so then you kind of know the question we're going at.
Technically, it's for Burns. So
well, then that's important. Take it.
Exactly.
Go.
There you go.
So Alabama plays this weekend. Their quarterback won the Heisman Trophy last year. Best player in football, allegedly. He's out this weekend. He's got a busted up shoulder.
That's a voted thing, isn't it?
It is. It is
subjective.
It's a voted thing, but it's a popularity contest as much as it is based on stats.
Fair enough.
That's why it always goes to an offensive player because they get all the newspaper headlines.
Right.
So Alabama's Heisman Trophy winning quarterback is down and out this weekend against Texas A&M. They're bringing in a new quarterback who plays a different style of football. Bryce is a guy who throws the ball. The backup Jalen Milroe runs the ball a lot. In the press conference, a reporter asked Nick Saban, the head coach of Alabama, "Coach, you got a new backup quarterback, plays a different style of football. Will there be like a new game plan? Are there any special packages for this guy, etc.?" I think it's a very valid question. When you have the most integral part of your offense out and you've got to replace him with somebody who does it entirely differently, to ask the coach, are you going to change the offense to match his skill set, or are you going to ask him to fill in for Bryce? Lonzo said that's a stupid question.
Based on what I know about football, it kind of seems like a stupid question because if you have a different player, there is very little chance that they're going to play the same way as another player. Especially when you know what their strengths are. You just said the player who's out tends to throw, the player who's in tends to run. Are you just going to make him play throwing plays?
He's about to ask you to leave.
No, I understand that.
Who asked you? Who asked you?
However, I do think I think you were right because I caught the last segment. I think you were right in saying that Saban's response was a little over the top.
Yeah.
It was a little over the top. I think he could have gotten away with just going, "Yep, next question." That's all you have to do. So, and my question for you is that giving too much away? Because I understand you don't want to. I mean, you don't want to prepare your opponents to
You don't want to give the game plan away.
Exactly.
And I guess that's the thing is, I'm not asking you to be like, yes, here are the first 10 plays we're going to run, and we're going to do this one and that one. I'm asking the question, and I think fair as a liaison and representative of the fans to go, you don't have to tell me exactly what you're doing.
I understand. Here's the problem. That sounds like a setup.
By the way,
question.
Texter says, "quote It is a stupid ass question."
There you go.
End quote.
Here's why. It sounds like a setup question. It sounds like once you get the answer to that, you're leading into another question. Skip that. You already know the answer to the first question. Go straight to the second question. That's why it's a waste of question. Because what if you don't get that second question?
Is it better than to go, how is the game plan going to be different?
No, because you know he's not going to answer that question. Don't ask questions you don't know the answer to or can't reasonably predict the answer to.
But that's a journalist. Like, their job is to ask questions that they can't know the answer to.
No, that's what I'm saying. Ask questions that you don't know the answer to. You already know the answer to, are you going to change your game plan? The answer is obviously yes, you have to change your game plan.
So
ask a question that you don't know the answer to that you are also reasonably sure he will be able to answer. Because asking, what is your play going to be? He can't answer that. There's a reason you don't answer that. You know. That's a good journalist is going to come up with a good question because it's going to make the guy think about how he can answer it, and it's going to give you information that you didn't already have.
See, that's why Lonzo invited Chris onto the mic.
Reasonably predict.
That's why Lonzo gave Chris a mic.
Really?
Yes, that's why Lonzo asked you that question.
Sure it was you.
Unbelievable. I was set up. It's a trap. I was set up for failure.
Akbar right now.
It's a trap.
So yeah, when Chris and I went out to lunch yesterday, we planned this whole thing. That's exactly what we did.
You need to put on the show prep that we're going to talk about Alabama's quarterback situation.
Unbelievable. I was just talking about how the chemistry on this show is flawless, and then here comes Chris
throw
a Molotov on it.
No, I do agree with you that Saban did not have to go the route that he went.
I mean, on the flip side, they call him the Nick-tator for a reason. Like, this is pretty common of him. And when you win fistful of trophies, you're allowed to kind of be a Delta Bravo.
No, that's not an excuse. You don't get to be. You don't get to be a Delta Bravo just because.
No, he does. He's been doing it for a decade now.
I understand. No, that's why.
You're telling me there's nobody in this building who has massive success.
Nope.
Who's not a jerk.
What I'm saying is that is not an excuse. People tolerate it because he wins trophies, but that doesn't make it appropriate behavior.
Fair enough. I like not sports fan Chris coming in to chime in. There's
always
his daily cameo.
I came in here to talk about work.
Nobody wants to do that.
No, well, this
sounds awful.
See, you have a very happy niche here in that this is your work.
I know, it's awesome. It's awesome.
I just fixed a laptop in the other room.
Boring.
I'm really excited about that.
Let's take a break. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about those 2 college football games coming up this weekend. South Carolina at Kentucky is a big one. Clemson coming off the win against NC State, making up ground on Michigan. We'll take a look at how much ground they've made up on Michigan next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. I'd say thanks, buddy, but...
You know what? It is really interesting. Based on the previous segment, not the one we just did, but the one before that, I would have agreed with you. And then when you posed the question that you did, and I actually got to think about it for a second, I was like, hang on a second. Here's why that's a dumb question. This is actually something, believe it or not, that I learned from Bill O'Reilly. Somebody was interviewing Bill O'Reilly rather than him interviewing somebody else. And they were asking him what I think it was about an interview that he had done with President Trump. And they said, why didn't you ask President Trump this? Why didn't you ask President Trump this? He's like, I already know the answers to those questions. And not that I know the answer to the question. I know the answer he's going to give me.
Right.
I want to ask a question that I don't know what he's going to say.
And I mean, I get that.
Given Saban's reputation
for being a jackass.
For being that. And also, based on, again, what you know about how you play opponents, you're not going to give away your playbook. Don't ask a question like that because it doesn't get you the answer that you want. It doesn't. You can predict what those answers are going to be.
You know what it does, Chris?
You can't predict.
You know what it does? You can go back to your boss and say, "See, I was working today."
And if
that's
all
what
you're
it
trying to get
does.
as a comment, then I understand why you come up with that question. But that's not good journalism. Getting answers to questions is good journalism.
I don't disagree with that. That is the storyline of this game. That is the storyline. There are 2 storylines to this game.
But see, if that's the storyline, then everybody already knows that. That's what I mean. We can see a step or 2 ahead.
Right.
You know, if you ask that question, you know exactly what the answer is going to be, almost verbatim. If you know that already, don't ask the question. Ask a question you can't predict.
Fine, I won't ask the question, Chris. Fine.
No. Ask a question you can't predict the answer to.
Hold on,
I need to talk to you.
Okay, let me do some math real quick.
Okay.
Okay.
Hendricks wants me to work with Tron to get his stuff set up, logged into Odyssey at work and email and all of the kind of normal stuff. But he's not going to be here until 3 o'clock most days, I gather. So
About 3:15, 3:20, something like that.
are you still going to be around at that point? I know we talked yesterday about you planning to work to come in, sometime when he's going to be here to assess his training, et cetera, et cetera.
According to what my schedule is supposed to be, yes, I will be here at that time.
Sorry to put you on the spot on camera. But the point is that all of the stuff that he needs to do should be fairly simple, like logging into Odyssey at work. You can show him how to do that.
Tim can show him how to do that.
Fair enough. I don't care who does it. It's just I'm not going to be here then.
I don't care who does it. I just don't want to.
Yeah, does he have his logins and all that
He ought to.
information?
He ought to.
Okay. Because when I asked him yesterday, I asked him if he had everything yet, and he said no. I didn't go into detail.
I can.
If he has everything,
Should be. I'll tell you what. I can look it up. I can look up what his login name is, and at least send it to you.
Okay.
And
yeah,
because
I
forward it to him or whatever. But
I need it anyway.
But once he gets into Odyssey at work, he can get into everything else. He should be able to get into UltiPro. He should be able to get into Gmail. He should be able to get into whatever he needs.
Yeah, I can.
The only thing he won't be able to get into is Wide Orbit, but I can set that up.
Okay. All right.
I can set him up a Wide Orbit. Not that he should need a Wide Orbit login right away. Unless he's going to be going into the prod rooms.
He won't. Just let me know what his email is and everything. Does he have? See, it's been so long. Does he have a temporary login until he logs in?
So what it is, my expectation is that he will have. So when he goes to Odyssey at work for the first time and puts in his username, which I will provide to you, the next thing that's going to happen is it's going to say, you need to set up one login, scan this QR code with your phone.
Okay. All right.
And so that's part of, and again, it's pretty simple. He'll need to go download the One Login app onto his phone, and then click the plus button in the app, and it brings up the QR scanning thing, and then it links your Odyssey account, your phone account, and syncs everything up, and then you're just logged in.
Okay.
So it's a pretty streamlined process. It's just he's gonna have to go through this.
Well, yesterday Charlie was here, so I couldn't really. I didn't want to go in there while Charlie was in there and watch and talk to him too much. Charlie shouldn't be there today, so yeah, I'll do it. And if I need to, I can put him on that other computer, and it'll take 10 minutes to log in over there. But
oh, you mean on Charlie's side?
Yeah.
No, put him on the StreamYard computer.
I don't want to mess that computer up.
That
computer's important. The other one is not.
I am gonna wind up replacing all the computers in that room anyway, and all the computers in this room for that matter, eventually. But
Send me his stuff.
Yes,
I should be here, and I'm usually here till at least 4.
it'll work. Now, what you don't need to do necessarily is log him into Chrome. Like he doesn't need to create a profile in Chrome. But all you need to do
He probably already has his own stuff.
Well, it doesn't matter. But my point is that all you need to do is get him to log into Odyssey at work, and then it should be just kind of a roller coaster downhill.
All right.
Bye, Chris.
Bye.
Don't ask stupid questions.
I meant to ask you, how long do we have? Why are people happy about the Braves? You said you were
Because we
really
won the NL East, won the division last night. We were down 10.5 games like 2 months ago, which is ridiculous for us to have come back and won that. Which, by the way, clip 1 I'm going to go to here.
Is there there's only one clip, right? Did you have
Is there
more
not
than one?
2? I'll put another one in there, right? Like as the show was starting.
Oh, okay, I'll find it.
I am going to talk college football. But before I talk college football.
Hold on. We don't do that here. We don't talk college football here.
No.
Spent almost the entire last hour talking college. Well, we don't do that. We don't do that here.
I do want to talk college football, but before we talk college football, I would very much like to talk about this clip. That one. Yep.
In the air right. Ronald is there, and the Braves have won the East. And they chase down the New York Mets, who once led this division with a $300 million payroll by 10.5 games. Instead, it's the Braves under Brian Snitker who have won 5 consecutive Eastern Division titles, and they'll get some rest and set themselves up for their first round matchup a week from today.
First, you're sitting 10.5 games back tonight. You're standing here as division champs. How'd you do it, and how rewarding was the climb back to the top?
Very much so. I mean, these things are never easy. They're all special in their own right. We did it with that group behind me, because those guys, they're an amazing group. I said they're the battle-tested guys. They never stop believing in themselves. Their work ethic, the consistency with which they come, with which they play, the coaching staff, how these guys, they take every day the same too. I mean, they're right there with them guys. Alex just never stopped believing in us. I mean, continue to try and make this club better all the time. I'm just so proud of our organization, because like I say, it takes the whole building to do something special, and we just gave ourselves a chance to do something special again. Oh my God, this was like one of our typical just grind them out games too. I mean, guys in the bullpen, boy. I'm so happy we can do this, so I can give all these guys some time off now, which is going to be awesome. But I'm so proud of this group. Where we were the 1st of June. Happy for the organization. Like I say, it takes that whole building to make this happen. And they're all special. This is unbelievable.
Speaking of special.
Five-time 5-time National League East champion Atlanta Braves down 10.5 games back in June of the New York Mets. One of the biggest payrolls in the game, up there with the LA Dodgers. The Bravos, in grabbing that NL East championship for the 5th consecutive time last night, have done themselves a couple of favors. They have, first and foremost, created a situation now where they get a few days rest. The game tonight against the Miami Marlins is irrelevant. You can pop the back end of the roster into the field, let those guys get some big league service, right? Let them get some time on the field. Number 2, it allows you to avoid the wild card round. And while the Braves would have hosted the best of 3, at the end of the day, baseball's wild card round is interesting because a best of 3 series can come up with some fluky endings, right? In a best of 7 series, more often than not, the best team wins. When you got to go 7, when you got to get 4 out of 7, even if there are 2, heck, even if there are 3 fluky results, in a best of 7, the best team wins. In a best of 5 series, it is not always that way as well, right? You can best of 5, a couple of fluky endings plus one day where the worst team has a really, really good day. Fluky. A 3-game series in Major League Baseball is really, really interesting, right? It's really interesting, especially when you got 3 games between teams that aren't that far apart with each other. I'm looking at St. Louis, Philadelphia, right? The winner of that wild card round will head to Truist to take on the Braves in the NLDS. That series is really interesting to me because I do think that the St. Louis Cardinals are a little bit better of a baseball team. But I also know that the St. Louis Cardinals can be a very streaky team, right? If they come into this wild card round and they're not playing their best baseball and they give the first game away to Philly, even though they're the better team and will have the better pitcher off the hill, Philly might move on and take on the Braves in round 2. The other thing it does as far as R&R is think about it this way. Think about where the Mets are now, right? The Mets have a second-round matchup against the LA Dodgers if they are able to get through San Diego when they take on the Fathers, right? So they get through San Diego and take out the Fathers. They move on. But in order to do that and give themselves their best shot to pull it off, what do they have to do? What they have to do, more than likely, is they have to throw their best pitcher, Scherzer and DeGrom, out of the gate, right? They've got to throw their best pitchers out of the gate, which means that when they get to LA, they have 2 options. Option number 1 is they can throw Scherzer and DeGrom again, but do it on very short rest, which kind of sets them up for failure against a Dodgers lineup that might be the most talented offense in all of baseball history. Or they can give Scherzer and DeGrom a couple of days of rest, let them recoup a little bit, get their full rest period in, and come back for games 3 and 4. But that means you got to throw your either 3 and 4 or 4 and 5 guys, if you go that deep into the rotation, to open up the series at Los Angeles, which means, statistically speaking, going up against the Dodgers' best, who will have had more than their full rest at that point. The Mets likely bring out Scherzer and DeGrom, who, by the way, both got beat by Atlanta when the Braves swept the Mets this past weekend to take the NL East crown, right? And lower their magic number to 1 to go get the win last night against the Marlins. You take Scherzer and DeGrom, you put them on the bounce on a full rest, except for you're probably down 2 games at that point, which means that both of those guys now have to win their games. Bassett comes out third, who's been good, but not Scherzer or DeGrom good, right? Both of those guys have to win their games, and now it's a best of 3 series, and you don't have your best 2 pitchers again. The Braves help themselves out immensely because now when it gets to the NLDS and the Braves are hosting, not only have they bought Spencer Strider a couple of more days to continue working on getting ready, and I don't know if he will be or not. As of 2 days ago, he has not been cleared to throw the baseball yet. So even if he got cleared, if he gets cleared in the next couple of days, maybe he's ready for like the back end. Maybe he's ready for the back end. But it gives him a couple of extra days to continue to get ready. It gives you the opportunity to rest up Max Fried, the front end of your rotation. And when either the Birds or the Phillies come a calling in the ATL 3 days after the wild card round starts up, you are going to be throwing your top end against the back end of their rotation, just like we said with the Dodgers, but now it's the Braves against the Phillies. This was enormous, right? It not only allows you to avoid the threat of getting bounced in the wild card round, as the Mets now have the threat of happening to them against San Diego, but it also sets you up with a clear-cut advantage in the NLDS out of the gate. I cannot tell you how big of a win it was for the ATL to get that win. The wild card round, listen, I know a lot of you guys hated the 1-game wild card, right? To determine who the last team in. I know a lot of you guys hated this. I don't know how I feel about the wild card round as it's currently structured. 3 games, 3 days, no off days, winner moves directly into the NLDS. Tim Frisbee just popped into the chat. He said the wild card round is meant to mess up teams' rotations for the division series. That's why you want to avoid the wild card. Yes, right? We're going to get Abe Gordon from 92.9 The Game in Atlanta back on later this week to talk about the NLDS, probably next week after the wild card series is over, which is what? I think it starts on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then we start the NLDS. All that the wild card round does, all it does is screw you up. All it does is screw you up. That's it. It screws up your rotation. It screws up your schedule. It screws up your life. It screws you up, right? That is why, as I mentioned, a few minutes ago that when the Braves and the Mets had their series last weekend, sweeping that series would be the best thing that happens for the Braves' postseason chances, right? It's exactly because of the wild card round. How much different is it if the Atlanta Braves find themselves in a position where they are playing a 4-5 wild card matchup, right? They're playing it at home, sure, but they got to throw Fried. They got to throw their aces. Then they got to go to LA for the Dodgers in the second round, and their sleep schedule's messed up, and their rotation is pushed back to where either their 3 or 4 pitcher has to go game 1 against the best team in baseball on the road at what will be the most difficult place to play in baseball in Dodger Stadium right now. Like, my goodness. My goodness. That would have been a huge ask for the defending World Series champions. But by sweeping the Mets, they had a bit of a hangover night before last on the road at Miami. Miami's pitcher went a dozen Ks. The Braves were in a bit of a hangover, which is very understandable, by the way. The Braves come off the hangover. They get themselves set up. They win last night. Now they get an extra night off tonight, right? They'll probably throw some starters in there for a couple of innings, but you'll get some young guys getting some spot work. You get to rest through the weekend while Philly and St. Louis, your next opponents, are fighting elimination from Game 2. That's spectacular, man. One of those teams is going to be up for elimination on Saturday and will be, or we'll have to win Saturday and Sunday to be ready to go up against the Braves in the NLDS immediately after, who are coming off of rest, who have got the top end of their rotation ready and full of extra sleep in Atlanta in their own bed. That was a gut-out final week of the season for the Atlanta Braves. Down 10.5 games to the New York Mets. I remember sitting back in late June, early July. I was sitting at Hall of Fame Sports Grill with our buddy Tim and Scooty from the Swamp Rabbits. Big Braves guys, right? And Tim tells me, at that point, the Braves were like 29-1 to win the division. Tim's like, I'm taking a flyer on the Braves to win the East. I'm like, dude, you're dumb. You're wasting money. Just buy me a bucket of beer. At least one of us can enjoy that money, right? He's like, no, dude. New York's going to choke. The Braves are going to go clutch down the stretch. The guys are going to wake up. We're going to win this division. I was like, not a chance, bro. No chance. He called me out on this last night because we watched the game together last night. He's like, hey, Rob. Remember back in June when you told me there was no chance the Braves win this series? That was a gutted-out final week of the season for the Atlanta Braves, and it is exactly the type of attitude, the type of mentality that you need going into the playoffs. And the Braves got it. And they just showed you that they've got that dog in them. And I love it. James, you said the LOL Mets factor is on an incredible streak. Yes, it is. They did it again. But I got to tell you, I don't think this was solely the Mets going LOL Mets as they do pretty much every year. I think you have got to give a lot of credit to the Atlanta Braves because they could have very easily just given up on this entire season. They could have very easily gone, yo, the Mets are really good. DeGrom, Scherzer, the back end. This team is going to be tough to go get. And walked away from it. They didn't. 10.5 back. That is the mentality of a championship baseball team. Loved watching what the boys did last night. Let's take a break. I promise this time, college football when we come back. Until something else sidetracks me. The great Malonzo's on the board. I'm Rob Brown. This is the Fan Upstate. Oof. 0 for 2.
All right, working on my skyhook.
There it is.
WRD Weather Center. Here's the upstate's most trusted forecast on the Fan Upstate. Abundant sunshine for today in the upper 70s. Sports Night clearing 50.
End of rant. All right, we back. I pushed the wrong button. You saw?
Went into
I was gonna
countdown.
count us down.
Yeah, countdown for just a second. Or 3 seconds, actually. But maybe 28, so it's 30, 29, 20. Yeah, it's 3 seconds. By the way, Trey, if you're still on here, the question you asked earlier about the Vice show Territories, I was just telling Rob about that. I've watched a little bit of it this morning. I've listened to some podcasts on it. I'll probably watch some more when I go home today. It is so interesting because you don't know. It's a bunch of old wrestlers talking about things that happened to them back in the day. You don't know how much of it is true or not, but man, it's fun to listen to. And they're showing like some old footage of Lawler. Man, Lawler was the man back in the day. I had heard about it, but yeah, they were showing him like when he pulled the strap down, someone's getting punched in the face. And speaking of that, some guy tripped Jimmy Hart, and he and Lawler were coming out, and Lawler said, "You tripped him?" It's like, yeah, and he punched the guy right in the face, and Jimmy said he knocked him flat out. Again, you don't know if it's real or not, but I want to believe it's real.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown. Great with Lonzo. Last thought on the Braves, and then I put it to bed and we talk college football for a minute. Alex Anthopoulos joined the Atlanta Braves in 2017. The Braves have won every National League East title since 2017. Double A is the GM of the freaking decade right now. And for the record, since I talked about it last, the update on Spencer Strider is good. He threw for the first time yesterday, did not experience any pain in his oblique, which is a massive step forward to getting Spencer Strider back and ready for hopefully the NLDS, but we will find out. Wildcard Series is to be played on 3 consecutive days with no day off within the series. There are no days off between games 4 and 5 of the league divisional series or between games 5 and 6 of the league championship series, which will be interesting because obviously in those games, that's when we would have a travel day otherwise, which will mean that teams will finish a game, travel overnight, and then play the next day. That is potentially a massive disadvantage, let's say theoretically, in the LDS. Let's say it goes to game 5 between the Mets and the Dodgers. That means the Dodgers and the Mets would have to travel from New York across the country. The Dodgers would go home and sleep in their own bed. The Mets would basically fly across the country overnight, get to a hotel room, get a few hours of Z's in a hotel room on the other side of the country, and then have to play an elimination game the next day. Same thing would happen in the league championship series to Atlanta if it was to be Braves-Dodgers between game 5 and 6. So just a heads up how that might get a little interesting, a little wonky late in the day. Let's get some college football in here. Your AP Top 25 poll was released. How about this? After back-to-back wins against ACC opponents, after back-to-back top 25 wins over ACC opponents, the Tigers have gained ground on the Wolverines of Michigan. Your top 3 remain the same, though it is changed. As we mentioned earlier in the week, Bama jumps to 1, Georgia falls to 2, Ohio State remains at 3, Michigan remains at 4. But what is interesting is the point differential now, right? Alabama has 25 first place votes. Georgia has more. They have 28. But it is in all those non-first place votes that the difference gets made up. Alabama is number 1 in the country. Lonzo, in their AP poll, remember, you get 25 points for a first place vote, 24 for a second, etc. Alabama leads Georgia by 2 points in the AP poll, by 2. Then you have about a 38-point drop-off from Georgia down to Ohio State, which is not massive. Ohio State has 10 first-place votes. 25 go to Bama, 28 to the Dogs, 10 of them to the Ohio State University.
Ohio State not getting any respect at all.
You're 3rd in the country.
No respect. I'm talking about first-place votes. No respect.
You got 10 of them.
It's not enough.
I mean, Georgia and Bama are both really good. Both have hit a stumble.
By saying that, Rob, you're saying that Ohio State is not really good.
I'm saying I think Ohio State is right where Ohio State should be.
It doesn't matter as long as you're in the top 4.
That is correct.
But at the same time, as Georgia and Alabama change places back and forth, Ohio State stays right there. Yep. Why are they not jumping into 1?
Here's why. Because you beat Notre Dame, which is nothing right now, right? Then you played Arkansas State, Toledo, Wisconsin, who just fired their head coach because they're bad, and Rutgers. Now, you got Michigan State.
I was going to say, all those points that you just made are really good points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You played nobody. You got Michigan State, who paid their head coach $250 million to turn in a subpar performance. You got Iowa, who is allergic to the end zone. The first game that you guys play, like on the schedule that will be noticed, is not until Halloween weekend when you take on 10 Penn State. That's the first game Ohio State has on the schedule. Then I'm going to tell you right now, you got Northwestern, then you got Indiana, then you got Maryland. Sucks for you that the Big Ten is front-loaded with Ohio State and Michigan, right? You're front-loaded. You got two teams right now that get respect in the polls. You are playing two ranked teams this year? I mean, Notre Dame would have looked good if Notre Dame had been better than they expected.
It's unusual. It really is.
It's a bad year for the Big Ten.
Usually the Big Ten has more ranked teams.
Sure do. But you don't this year. Michigan State has fallen off quite a bit. They are reeling right now because they gave Mel Tucker all that money, and Mel Tucker has not performed, right? Keep in mind, Mel Tucker was the subject of a very hot coaching search the last year, right? And then Michigan State locked him up. And everybody was like, hell yeah. How about it? How about the Spartans locking up a guy that I think Florida was looking at him amongst other schools, right? Instead, Michigan State has been not good. They lost to the only ranked team they've played so far in Washington, 39-28. They lost to an unranked Minnesota team, and they lost to a bad Maryland team by 2 scores. The Big Ten is down, and that's unfortunate for Ohio State. If Notre Dame was what we thought Notre Dame should have been this year, you would probably have an argument, and you'd have about 7 to 8 more first-place votes. But Notre Dame stinks, right? Arkansas State, Toledo, and Rutgers ain't a murderer's row. Wisconsin sucks. They just fired their coach. And your next 2 games are against Mel Tucker and then Iowa. It's not a good look for the Buckeyes. That's why you're third. I'll be real with you. I think, frankly, Lonzo, the best thing you have going for you right now is that Michigan's in the same conference and they have the same problems.
So
the only thing Michigan has over you right now, looking up and down their schedule, is that they beat Maryland by a lot of points, I guess.
So Ohio State basically has a Clemson schedule this year.
I mean, I can't even say that. Clemson just played 2 back-to-back top 25 games.
Did they, though?
Yeah.
Did they? I mean, were they really top 25 teams? That's what I mean. Were they really?
Wake Forest went down to Tallahassee and smoked a 4-0 FSU team this weekend. NC State might not lose another game. They're not bad. Listen, I'm all for crapping on the ACC when the ACC deserves it. That Wake Forest offense is impressive. It would never work at the NFL level. That little mesh run screen pass thing they do with Hartman will get Sam Hartman murdered if he tried it in the NFL, but it works at this level.
All right, there are 2 college teams that I think we all know that I really dislike, and you're talking about one gaining on the other as far as Clemson on Michigan.
And Michigan and Ohio State, for the record.
Clemson and Michigan play each other right now. You're going with Clemson?
Yes.
A lot of hesitation there. A lot of hesitation.
Yes. Shrug. Question mark.
What would Vegas do? What do you think Vegas would do? Clemson versus Michigan right now.
Where?
We'll say in a bowl game.
Bowl game?
So it's neutral. Yeah.
Clemson -1.5. Maybe.
See, I would say it would be the other way with Michigan.
Maybe a money line pick, but that's fine though. We're talking about 1 point of difference ultimately, right? I would say Clemson -1.5, and I don't think it would be wrong if they went Michigan -1.5. I don't think it would be wrong if they didn't offer a spread on this game. If it was pick'em and they were both -107 on the money line, would not shock me at all. So looking back at those numbers, then how about this? Alabama and Georgia. I mentioned Lonzo have 2 points of difference between them in the AP Top 25 poll. Michigan to Clemson, how many points of difference?
4?
3.
Okay.
So Bama and Georgia, which we all agree are the best 2 teams in the country, no, we don't all agree. I know, that's why I said and.
Yeah.
Turns out there was more to that sentence. I just delayed it for drama's sake. And
I'm glad I played into your hands.
Alabama and Georgia, which most of us agree are the best two teams in the country with the most on their record to show, with the most impressive performances on their record so far. They have 2 points of difference between them. Michigan and Clemson have 3 points in the AP poll between them. Michigan has 1348, Clemson 1345.
All right, Steven says, now, what would the odds be on Michigan and Ohio State right now?
Ohio State minus 3.5. Got to beat them by better than a field goal.
The cool or non-cool thing about this, however you want to look at it,
We're going to find out.
We will find out at the end of the year.
You're going to learn
Yeah.
in like 4, 5, 6 weeks. That's a fact.
Might be some vengeance coming someone's way.
Yeah. Ohio State's got revenge on the brain, no doubt about it. Ohio State down to Clemson, or down to Michigan, by the way. Ohio State's got 1488, Michigan 1348. Michigan down to Clemson 1348 to 1345. People have come around, and you can thank, I can't wait to say this. You can thank DJ Uiagalelei for that. Because DJ has turned a corner, my man.
Wait. You mean not Cade? Not Cade?
Nope.
No Cade?
DJ Uiagalelei.
You know what?
The guy that literally stood in the bathroom while Lonzo was doing his business and asked Lonzo.
No, we were at the sink. I mean, come on. Let's be a little more.
It's less funny that way.
No, I want to be a little more accurate. You know, some of us have decorum, and some of us do. Some of us don't, as far as conversations in the restroom goes.
Somebody stood in the restroom and asked Lonzo why Clemson wasn't doing more to force DJ Uiagalelei to transfer out. DJ's play and the play of the offense have created a situation.
I'm going to go ask that person. That's what I was going to say before you start bringing that. I'd need to go ask that person if they've changed their mind. I'm curious if they've come around on DJ, because this person is, I know, avid Clemson. He's the person who got me the tickets when I went to see them the very first time.
Let me go with you.
Okay.
Let me go with
They're
you.
probably not here right now, but
I don't care. Just text me. I'll come back to the office.
No. I mean, they may be gone for the day, but tomorrow, when I get here, we can saunter.
Is this individual on the air at the same time as us? Is this person on the air? You don't want to answer?
No, I'm not going to give it away.
I want to know. I want to contact people.
You do know. You do know. You absolutely know. You just forgot because I told you who it was.
All right. Anyway, I'm dumb. What do you want?
It's not my fault your memory is struggling.
Shot. Correct.
Not everyone's an elephant in the room.
Michigan has unranked Indiana on the road this week. The Clemson Tigers this week are on the road at unranked Boston College. Fair to say, though, that if Clemson goes and hangs 47 on the Eagles and Michigan doesn't do the same thing for Indiana, Clemson jumps to number 4 in the AP poll, which gives them a leg up towards the first release of the playoff poll.
It won't happen. Here's the reason why. Here's the reason I believe why. It's because of the perception of DJ. It's because of that they won't let them jump. If one struggles and the other one doesn't, I don't think Clemson jumps Michigan.
How much goes into, theoretically?
By the way, I don't care either way. I wish some other team would jump both of them.
How much do you think that there is a little bit of drama in Michigan v. Ohio State at the end of the year with a playoff spot on the line?
All right. I've said this a bunch of times, and I still don't get the South Carolina Clemson. I don't care if we win this as long as we beat them. That's just stupid. It really is. This is the ultimate thing you want to see if you have a rival. Both teams coming into that rivalry game undefeated with everything on the line, because you take everything away from that team.
But
everything.
Take yourself out of the seat of guy invested as a fan and put yourself into the seat of a TV exec trying to get as many eyes on this product as you can. Michigan, Ohio State, last game of the year, Thanksgiving weekend, ranked 3 and 4. Probably, right? Because I don't think Georgia or Bama are losing. Ranked 3 and 4 in the poll, has more drama, although it shouldn't seem like it would. 3-4, playing for a playoff spot, has a little more drama than 3 versus 5.
No, it doesn't, because if 5 beats 3,
they're still in. I get it.
No. 3 would be out, and 5 would jump in. Yeah. So there's still drama there.
I mean, 3-4. You're not Bama, you're not Georgia, and you're playing out of a Big Ten that on paper looks bad this year. You're not losing that game and staying inside the top 4. Georgia-Bama SEC championship game. If both of those teams are undefeated in the SEC title game, and one of those two teams loses, they're just going to drop them down to 4 and leave them in there.
Right. Ohio State, Michigan last year, the winner got into the playoff.
Yep.
That's how it will work this year, probably.
I
The
agree.
winner will destroy whoever they're playing in the Big Ten championship, and then be in the playoff. So I mean, it's a very important game. It really is, and I hope they both stay undefeated. I mean, part of me wants Michigan to lose, but I don't think they will, because you just pointed out about the weakness of a lot of the Big Ten teams. So this thing, it will matter more. It will make for better drama. It will be awesome on TV, unless Michigan wins.
All right, let's hit the text line. Preferred Home Services text line 71307. Start your text with FAN FAM. We'll read them on the air. Here's what you guys have texted in so far. Rob, go blue. Michigan is going to beat OSU again, LOL. It looks like a great game on paper right now. Texter says, Fan, Lonzo's got the hater shades on. Clemson, Ohio State, and Michigan are similar, except Clemson is down 7 starters on defense. Clemson gets healthy, and look out. They'll beat all of them.
Wow, way to make excuses for your team.
7 starters is the reason, not an excuse. That's a reason.
Injuries are a part of the game.
I agree.
They
and
absolutely
losing
are.
7 guys is a reason you are
sounds
worse. Lonzo, if you stub your toe and you got to go home for the day, is this show going to get better or is it going to get worse?
I've worked here on the same day after having surgery. Listen, I don't care.
The hypothetical slayer is in the building.
You come up with these analogies that never apply to me. I'm weird. I can't help
hypothetical. If you get Thanos
that. If I agree with your analogy, then I'm lying when I've already, proven that wouldn't be the case.
Then I'll answer it myself.
I stub my toes all the time. I'm old.
If Lonzo gets hurt and doesn't come into work tomorrow, the show will be worse for it.
Well, that's for sure.
Correct. So, if Clemson loses 7 starters, the defense will be worse. The team will be worse for it.
So,
the exact same thing.
So it's a part of the game. No. What this wasn't. Well, if we had all our players, we'd be able to beat you guys. Well, you don't. So what? And last time Clemson played Ohio State, we know how that went.
Texter says 1 Bama, 2 Georgia, 3 Clemson or USC, 5 Ohio State, 6 Michigan would be my rankings.
Wow. You guys all listen to that show that's on later, don't you?
I got to tell you, I understand that argument. Back-to-back top 25 wins, I got no problem with that, theoretically speaking. Ohio State has played one team that on paper look good, which is Notre Dame, and you struggled against them.
In theory, I agree with you. Let's see how those teams do the rest of the way. Those teams that were ranked,
right, but we don't
that
base
Clemson
our rankings
beat.
Based on what we think they're going to do. We base our rankings on what they've done. And what they've done, Clemson has been more impressive than Ohio State.
No, they haven't.
They have.
How can you say that with a straight
they beat
face?
Back-to-back top 25
Oh, my
teams.
gosh.
You haven't played 2 of them yet.
You spell your name with a C? Come on. Come on.
All right, Texter said, Zoe hates the ACC so much. Yes, 2 top 25 teams, period. Ohio State should be 5th or 6th. USC should be ahead of them.
Hey, I don't hate the ACC. I'm not the one that dubbed them the All Cupcakes Conference. That's not me. That's some other guy.
Texter said, so by saying that the Big Ten only has 2 ranked teams, that in turn labels them as the All Cupcakes Conference, right? Because the ACC has 4.
Again, it's like I jumped ahead of that I don't even have the text line up, but I will say again, I didn't dub them that. That was some other guy.
Ohio State has played no one, and they struggled against Notre Dame. That's the argument.
All right, this goes back to, again, and we do need to take a break, but here in South Carolina, people are born and then they are told you don't like Ohio State. And I have proof. I proved it like it was off the air, but I showed somebody else a couple weeks ago. Oh, I hate Ohio State. Why? I don't know. I just do. Because your dad and your mom told you should.
Hatfields and McCoys.
It's exactly. Did I tell you my grandma dated one of the Hatfields?
You have?
Yes.
You know how that rivalry started? Over a pig.
Yeah, well.
Wild. Text says, Lonzo, what happened to you that made you the way you are?
See, that would imply that there was a singular event that did this to me. There were multiple things.
Let's take a break. We come back. We put this show on ice. Lonzo, Rob, you, the Rob Brown Show. It's the Fan Upstate.
You Clemson people.
Can't imagine what Lonzo thought when Dabo commented on Ohio State's schedule 2 years ago.
I don't get that affected by what a hype machine says.
A hype machine.
Hey, you guys won national championship. Good for you. You haven't caught us yet. The sad part is I'm joking about all this stuff. Yeah, I do believe, I don't like Clemson for reasons, and it has nothing to do with the team. It has to do with some of the fans. And yes, I'm cheering for Ohio State because they're my team. But some people take this way too serious. I'm just making up for all those times in high school where I just didn't say anything back. By the way, I won't be here tomorrow. I plan on stubbing my toe. I wouldn't miss tomorrow because tomorrow's Fight Club. And on Fight Club, we're going to pick Extreme Rules, which will have Nerf wall consequences, possibly. We're going to get Rob on that wall. I'm not going to cheat to make it happen because I don't do that. But he's going to fail at some point. He's going to be on that wall. And then we're bringing out the rotary guns and all the stuff. What's a naked egg?
I don't know.
I don't want to look it up, just like I don't want to look up what the real meaning for scissor me is. Because I'm not quite sure.
I can tell you. It's
I have some ideas, but I'm not
probably right.
But I'm not certain. And in order to get certainty, it would require either someone telling me, which I don't want to happen, by the way, or me looking it up.
Oh man.
Is this a term that's been around for a while, or because I hadn't really heard it before then? Well, I know that.
Oh, okay.
I get that. Okay.
Oh man. That made me laugh.
Oh, according to some people, you're not allowed to do that, James. You be a fan of whoever you want to be a fan of. I don't care. Yeah, some people will. Some people have been shot over stuff like that, which is just crazy. I love my team, but I don't want to physically harm you over it unless you hit me first. Then it's on. But, you know. But just like that, the show is over.
Just like that.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter Trending Topics.
All right, it is time for Twitter Trending Topics, where we completely agree on absolutely everything. And it's a place of peace and harmony.
This whole show is peace and harmony.
Absolutely. The first thing that is trending is 007.
So I don't know if this is why it's trending, but I saw, was it yesterday, I think, that the director or showrunner or producer or somebody, as an upper echelon member of the James Bond movie community, said that they would not be switching to a hyper young James Bond, whoever they pick next, right? There's been a cry to get Idris Elba to do a James Bond remix. There have been discussions to get a much younger James Bond in the next iteration. Give the millennials or Gen X a James Bond that they can get behind for a few years. And they said, yeah, we're not going super young James Bond next, but I do not know that they have picked who will replace Daniel Craig as the next James Bond.
Oh, okay. It's not that. Although
Perfect.
Idris Elba would be awesome as James Bond,
as James
but he's
Bond.
too old. He's a lot older than people think he is, and you'd only get like one, maybe two films out of him. Henry Cavill, I think, would be better because he's younger and he's trying to do every single cool role in pop culture.
I agree, and I got no issue with that. I think Elba would be a great James Bond, even if he did only get 2 or 3 movies out of him top end. And here's the second part.
By the way, Cavill's also British. Maybe you didn't know that, but he is.
But so is Idris Elba.
No, I know.
So the thought here for me would be, we have been shown via Batman that you can do different versions of beloved characters.
You can.
As long as the stories are good, right? It's just a story, right? DC didn't fail because of the iterations of the characters. They failed because the stories they put them in were just not good.
They haven't failed.
Well, they have not been Marvel successful.
Marvel, I hate having this argument, but I believe Marvel's put out more failures money-wise than DC has.
Yeah, but they've also put out a boatload more successes.
Just because you put out more doesn't, I mean,
I don't disagree,
there's,
but they put out more good.
Okay.
All that being said, you could do a James Bond who is forced out of retirement as an older 007.
They did that with Connery, I believe.
I think you're right. But do it again, right? Do the new generation. Do it with Idris Elba. I think that would be great. I would be fine with a very young James Bond, like a James Bond who has just gotten his licensing, or a James Bond who is working towards his. How interesting would a James Bond movie be where you had James Bond without his license to kill, right? I think it'd be fascinating to do that spin.
All right. All that being said, it's trending because today is James Bond Day. It was 60 years ago today, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Is when the first James Bond hit.
Well, I would be watching a couple of James Bond movies tonight.
Sure,
then.
why not?
No
All
worries
right.
about that.
Last thing that we have time for is favorite concert is trending.
Favorite concert? What's yours? Quick.
Weird Al Yankovic.
I'm not mad at it. I'm really not mad at it. The Eagles on the Hell Freezes Over tour. Garth Brooks and probably AC/DC put on a hell of a show. That's it for us, kids. If you want to keep these conversations going, we're on social media at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo and Ward. Make sure you like and download the Views from Mint Street podcast. We'll have a new episode coming up on Friday. Dropped a new episode overnight last night, our midweek edition. So if you're a Panthers fan, make sure you grab Views from Mint Street, wherever podcasts are found. Back tomorrow to do it all over again on The Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Later, brother. All right, guys, y'all are awesome. We'll see you back here tomorrow.